Chapter 755. Striking a deal with Yunjue. In fact, ever since Baili Hongzhuang started cultivating, her cultivation base could not be detected unless she intentionally exposed her strength in battle. Because of this, the Lingyin College lost a certain win fight. Qingqiu had an ugly expression on his face. If she had fought against Xiujie, she would have won without a problem, but she just had to challenge Baili Hongzhuang. The challenge was even accepted, but in the end she lost. Losing a game like this was simply a joke. As the principal of the Lingyin College, he had also lost face. Qingqiu could not help but look at Yulong, and Yulong was looking so shocked that his soul was flying away. He was punished before and only came out just now. He had not expected that such a thing would happen, and now he feared that the principal would not let him off. Thinking about it, Yulong's heart turned cold. How could he possibly be so unlucky? The smile on CHUYOU'S face widened a few parts. The fact that Kanglan College had been capable of recruiting Baili Hongzhuang was truly a blessing of the college. Before he left, he and Ren Tianxiong had already been mentally prepared for the loss. They had not expected that Baili Hongzhuang would be this amazing. Maybe there might still be a glimmer of hope. When Song Hongxi saw the ugly expression on Qingqiu's face, he actually found it a little fun. Even though he and Lingyin College were comrades, because of the previous defeat of Baili College, Qingqiu had not given him even a little face. Now that Lingyin College had lost the game, it was possible for Baili College to get back into the game. This was quite fun. Second round, Gong Xiaoqing against Shuehaoling. Gong Xiaoqing, you can do it. Baili Hongzhuang had a bright smile on her face. She believed that Gong Xiaoqing would be able to win this fight. Gong Xiaoqing gave a slight nod before he walked to the martial arts platform. His aura was bright, and his confidence caused everyone's eyes to brighten. With the temperament and appearance of Gong Xiaoqing, he had received a lot of attention back at Kanglan College. However, this was Lingyin College, and there were many students who had not noticed him. Compared to Gong Xiaoqing's overwhelming self-confidence, the morale of Shuehaoling was very low. The previous scene had caused him to be reprimanded by the mentors, causing him to be in low spirits. Looking at the weapon in his hands, he never again felt the same kind of success. He had actually regretted using the inscription. Without this inscription, he would never have fallen into this situation. Baili Hongzhuang slowly walked to the side of Yunjue, and her eyebrows lifted playfully. Gongzi, I am being targeted by Nangong because of you. Hearing this, Yunjue's lips curled into a smile. I helped you once. You also solved a problem for me. Isn't this good? Baili Hongzhuang looked at Yunjue, but instantly regained her sights as she nodded. That's a deal. You couldn't have helped me on that day for the sake of getting me to help you with her? Baili Hongzhuang's eyes were shining with a wise light. Since Nangong, Xiujie, and Nangong Yujin were there, he would be able to tell that Nangong would know about it within a few days. Yunjue waved his hand. This is just a coincidence. How could I expect this to happen? You are thinking too much. Chapter 756. Gong Xiaoqing wins. Baili Hongzhuang smiled slightly. If Yunjue said that he was unable to think of this happening, then she would not believe it. He was very intelligent and shrewd. However, no matter for what purpose Yunjue helped her, help is help, and they ought to help one another. She was not afraid of being entangled with Nangong, and the days of Yunjue could not be pleasant with her around. The situation was as good as Baili Hongzhuang had expected. Gong Xiaoqing's strength was overwhelming. Even if Shuehaoling had been at his peak, he would still not be the opponent of Gong Xiaoqing, and now his state was really bad. Under such situations, Shuehaoling's loss can be guaranteed. Just a simple clash, but everyone had already determined the winner. The two mentors of Baili College were also very anxious after seeing this scene, but now that the battle had begun, they could do nothing. Song Hongxi's face was also very ugly. The performance of Baili College in the first round was already unsatisfactory. If Shuehaoling lost now, then it would be even worse. Boom! With a sweeping attack of Gong Xiaoqing, Shuehaoling's body fell heavily onto the ground. Just as he tried to stand up, Gong Xiaoqing's sword appeared in front of him. Gong Xiaoqing wins. The judge immediately announced the result. The outcome of the battle was as clear as day. As soon as the sentence was said, Shui Haoling was like a lost child. His expression was stunned, and his mood was horrible. He never thought it would end like this. Before the start of the college tournament, he would never have expected this ending. He had only thought of ridiculing the Kangling College cultivators, but now he felt as if he was the real joke. Gong Xiaoqing slowly walked down from the stage. In the second round, the Kangling College had won 2 consecutive victories. The result had shocked and surprised many people. Previously, I heard that the cultivators of Kangling College were trash. Now I think that it is Beihai College which is the true trashy college. The previous Shui Haoling was so arrogant, but now he learned the truth. He lost, and he is unable to be smug any longer. This time the Kangling College has done well. Song Hongxi's face was unsightly, but he had to keep smiling. In the past, Song Hongxi was full of glory, but this year the situation was different. Gong Xiaoqing well fought. Dongfang Yu patted Gong Xiaoqing on the shoulder, immensely proud of his brother's results. He was very happy. Shui Haoling is not in a good state right now. This can also be considered a lucky draw. Gong Xiaoqing looked indifferent. This battle had not required all his strength. He could only say that his luck was very good. Dongfang Yu, Nangong Xiujie is not a good person to deal with. You have to be careful in the next round. Hearing this, Dongfang Yu nodded slightly. I understand that Nangong Xiujie is already at the innate realm. It is basically impossible for me to defeat him. Feeling the worried eyes of all the others, Dongfang Yu looked very carefree and easygoing. Don't worry so much. This is a test, and it is also a good chance to fight against an innate realm cultivator. It will be a good learning experience. They could see that Dongfang Yu had already prepared himself mentally, and everyone was relieved. Chapter 757, More Than One Can Bear. The truth was that when Dongfang Yu found out that his opponent was Nangong Xiujie, he knew that he would lose. With the cultivation base of Nangong Xiujie and the background of the royal family, Dongfang Yu had no chance of winning. According to Lingyin College, Nangong Xiujie was able to enter the finals. It could be said that Dongfang Yu's luck was not very good. Third game starts, Dongfang Yu against Nangong Xiujie. On the stage, Nangong Xiujie's gaze landed on Baili Hongzhuang. It did not matter whether or not what Yunjue had said was correct. A hostility had already appeared between himself and Baili Hongzhuang. He had originally hoped that this battle would be against Baili Hongzhuang. He had not thought that Nangong Yu would have taken a lead in challenging her. Since the current opponent was also from Kangling College, he would first recover some interest from Donggang Yu. Feeling the provocative gaze of Nangong Xiujie, a touch of worry emerged within Baili Hongzhuang's eyes. With such a narrow-hearted man as Nangong Xiujie, she was afraid that something bad might happen in the fight. Begin! The judge waved his hand. Immediately, Dongfang Yu and Nangong Xiujie began battling. Nangong Xiujie did not hesitate at all and rushed directly to Dongfang Yu. The force of a third-layered Red Realm cultivator erupted and enveloped Dongfang Yu. When he felt the mighty strength of Nangong Xiujie, there was a bit of tension in the eyes of Dongfang Yu. The gap in their power was really too big. It would be difficult to even resist against a few attacks made by Nangong Xiujie. Boom! Nangong Xiujie slammed the palm of his hand directly on the body of Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Yu's face became pale in an instant, but his body did not collapse. Even if he was defeated, he would not give up easily. This was his belief. However, when they saw the next act, the eyes of Baili Hongzhuang held a touch of anger. On top of the arena, Nangong Xiujie was intentionally playing Dongfang Yu, continually attacking him, but not letting him lose the last part of battle strength. It looked like a cat playing with a mouse. It was equivalent to completely stomping on the dignity of Dongfang Yu. Even when Dongfang Yu did his best, he could not hurt Nangong Xiujie. His face was extremely ugly because he knew that Nangong Xiujie was playing him like a monkey, but he had no other way. because he refused to say that he admitted defeat. Seeing this, the faces of everyone watching was ugly, while the face of the Qingling College students was filled with anger. Damn, this Nangong Xiujie is such a jerk. Xiuji's eyes burned with raging anger. She was fed up with them, and this was too much. I really want to rush up and tear this bastard up directly. Qinyue was also very disgusted. This was not only an insult of his strength, but also trampling on his dignity. Even if he managed to get out of this battle, there was a chance that his belief in cultivation would have been gone after such an experience, because Nangong Xiujie was trying to defeat Dongfang Yu's heart in this way. The eyes of Baili Hongzhuang was filled with coldness, and her hands were clenched into fists. Early on, she had expected that Nangong Xiujie would make it ugly, but she did not think that he would use such despicable means. It was simply disgusting. Chapter 758. Trampling on his dignity. Nangong Yujin's face showed a thick smile. He had long since known that his second brother was not going to let go of Baili Hongzhuang and the other people, but even he had to applaud the way that Nangong Xiujie was doing it. Those who thought that they had some strength, it was best to humiliate them completely, to make them understand how big the gap between them was. To offend them was a dead end. Bang! Nangong Xiujie had had his fun and was starting to find it boring, so he slammed directly at Dongfang Yu's chest. Dongfang Yu held his chest, his face was pale, and his forehead was covered with sweat, but he was still standing tall on the platform. Nangong Xiujie, you are too deceiving. Before entering the arena, he had already been prepared, but he had never thought that Nangong Xiujie would be so shameless. It was beyond his expectations. He already knew the gap between the two of them, but Nangong Xiujie was doing this as undisguised humiliation, completely trampling on his dignity and not giving him any face. Nangong Xiujie's mouth smirked, and he was too lazy to care about the accusation of Dongfang Yu. Instead, he ridiculed, "Trash like you do not deserve dignity." When the voice of Nangong Xiujie fell, he did not even look at Dongfang Yu, but lazily went back to the Lingyin College. Only the face of Dongfang Yu was completely white. The words of Nangong Xiujie were a big blow to his heart. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo immediately went to Dongfang Yu and helped him up from the ground. Their eyes was also filled with anger. Dongfang Yu had always been a student they were proud of. As long as he continued to grow, he would become a powerful cultivator. However, such a move from Nangong Xiujie almost destroyed his self-confidence. How could they possibly endure this as a mentor? In Huan Chuyo's eyes was also a raging light of anger. The hands under the sleeves were tightly clenched. This was not a test, but a direct insult to his personality. Jian Qingqiu was also surprised, but there was a smile at the bottom of his eyes. In this way, Nangong Xiujie showed the gap between the Qingling College and the Lingyin College. Song Hongxi was also smiling slightly. Although he had lost face because of Shui Haoling and Lu Jinglin's performances, now Qingling College had also lost a person. When thinking about this, he was feeling much better. The next moment, Jiang Qingqiu turned around and smiled slightly with a fake apology on his face. "I'm sorry for this, old man. This is just the character of Nangong Xiujie. I hope you can forgive him. Principal Jian, this is simply a college tournament. This is not acceptable at all," Huan Chuyu said slowly. Although there was no expression or emotion on his face, everyone could tell that Huan Chuyu was angry. The Qingling College is not like Lingyin and Beihai College. What they value is not achievements, but their students. If Dongfang Yu lost confidence in himself because of this, he would be much more embarrassed even if they won. Chapter 759. Dongfang Yu's pain, is that so? Jian Qingqiu smiled slightly with a bit of disappointment in his eyes. This is just a contest, but there is nothing wrong with Nangong Xiujie's method. Besides, your student does not have any severe injuries, right? When listening to Jian Qingqiu, Huan Chuyo's eyes flashed with coldness. He could see from the beginning that his apology was nothing more than pretense. It is exactly because of this that he felt so disgusted by him. He was like a repulsing snake. If Principal Jian really thinks so, then I have nothing else to say. The tone of Huan Chuyu is not good. Anyone who encountered such a thing will feel disgusted, not to mention it was a student who was injured. But it seemed that Jian Qingqiu did not care. When looking at Huan Chuyu, Jiang Qingqiu's eyes showed a touch of disdain, but mostly indifference. Nangong Xiujie was born this way, not to mention other geniuses. So if someone wants to test his strength, they are more than welcome. I will have no comment. When speaking, Jian Qingqiu was clearly showing off, saying that no one could beat Nangong Xiujie. Principal Jian, the mountain will fall to water one day. Being low-key is good. Otherwise, one day, you will regret it severely. Huan Chuyu left those words as he stood up. He no longer cared about Jian Qingqiu and left the seating, unwilling to share a seat with him any longer. He would much rather be with the college team. Seeing the movements of Huan Chuyu, there was a strange expression in Jian Qingqiu's eyes, but he then sneered. It seems that the temperament of the Kanglan College is getting bigger and bigger. I am afraid that when you lose, you will lose more than you can afford. Jian Qingqiu's voice was cold and filled with ridicule. Today, Kanglan College was already on a downward trend. It might completely be removed from the continent soon. The Kanglan College is only afraid that they will lose. I'm sure they have no real skills. Song Hongxi chuckled. Both Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at each other and laughed. They wanted the Kanglan College to suffer. Dong Fangyu was returned to the team with Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo. However, his entire face was filled with sadness and sorrow at the moment. Even his usually sparkling eyes were dull. Dong Fangyu, you need to go further. One setback cannot stop you, Lu Huayan said. However, when he heard this, a painful light shone in his eyes. Since he began cultivating, he had never suffered such humiliation. He was hit hard and could not get out of it anytime soon. At this moment, Huan Chuyu also came to the side of Dong Fangyu. And when looking at him, he knew the situation was not looking good. Even as a vice president, he had never seen it so bad before. If Dong Fangyu couldn't handle the setback, he would become useless. Go, take Dong Fangyu back and rest. Huan Chuyu made a decision and instantly sent them back with him. Being in a noisy environment was not beneficial. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo quickly nodded and did as they were told. They took Dong Fangyu back to rest at their residence. Chapter 760, Damn that Nangong Xiujie, you have to rest now. Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing. If anything happens, come to us. Lu Huayan said. Don't worry, we have no problem. After Dong Fangyu left, the faces of the others turned gloomy. Whenever they thought about the warm and sunshine-like boy that Dong Fangyu was, and then the pain-filled appearance he had just now, everyone's heart was in distress. Nangong Xiujie was far too evil. Acting so arrogantly, his heart is so despicable. He is really shameless. Even the cold and ruthless Gong Shaoqing was angry at this point and slammed his hand against the bench. Dong Fangyu was a friend he had for a long time. The two had long ago considered the other their brother. Now that Dong Fangyu was so humiliated, how could he calm down? Even Baili Hongzhuang was dull. The person that Nangong Xiujie wants to humiliate is me. Dong Fangyu just got implicated by me. Whenever she thought about this, her mood became heavier. If it was not for her, he would not have been treated like this. Cui Haoyan waved his hand. That day on the first tower, Nangong Xiujie obviously hated all of us. He wants to humiliate us all under the eyes of the vast crowd. Baili Hongzhuang, don't overthink. That said, on that day, it was solely Nangong Xiujie looking for trouble. How can it possibly be blamed on Baili Hongzhuang? Nangong Xiujie is really shameless. We have to find a way to avenge Dong Fangyu. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with anger. The other party bullied them to such a point. Wouldn't they seem weak if they did not fight back? Damn that Nangong Xiujie. The eyes of Baili Hongzhuang burst with brilliance, and her face was cold as frost, making anyone who looked at her feel cold. Everyone could feel the cold and murderous aura emanating from Baili Hongzhuang. Even the surrounding air temperature seemed to drop alongside her murderous intent. From the beginning to the end, it had always been Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yunjue looking for trouble with them. Now that they had treated Dongfang Yu like this. It was simply unforgivable. Baili Hongzhuang had always been a morally upright person. If Nangong Xiujie had come for her, then that'd be fine, but he had dared to touch her teammates. She would make Nangong Xiujie regret it. He was going to regret everything that he did. When sensing the murderous aura that erupted from Baili Hongzhuang, everyone felt surprised. They had always seen her as being very kind. They had never seen such a side to her before. However, when sensing her change, they all felt the same. Nangong Xiujie was now the opponent of their entire college. The gaze of Yunjue also fell onto Baili Hongzhuang. He had always known that she was not a soft-hearted person. She was only treating her friends kindly. He was afraid that she would be immensely fierce against her enemies. At the same time, the fact that Dongfang Yu was treated like this also had something to do with him. His eyes turned black and dangerous with a touch of indifference. His eyes landed on Nangong Xiujie, who was not far away. It seemed that Nangong Xiujie was still not clear about the consequences of offending him. However, at this moment, Nangong Xiujie was still busy accepting the praise of everyone from the team of Lingyin College. The Qingqiu College was not his opponent at all. Chapter 761. Violent Xiujie feeling the cold eyes of Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Xiujie was even more proud. He even provocatively raised an eyebrow when looking at her. From a moment that Baili Hongzhuang offended him, she was destined to humiliation. Baili Hongzhuang's face was filled with an enchanting smile, but her dark eyes were flashing with a deadly light. Next, Baili Hongzhuang slowly raised her thumbs at Nangong Xiujie, and then, under the strange eyes of One, the thumb flipped over and tuned downward fast. When seeing the provocative action of Baili Hongzhuang, Nangong Xiujie's face also tuned ugly. Damn it! Even now, Baili Hongzhuang actually dared to challenge him. She was simply looking for death. Just when Nangong Xiujie was about to fight back, Baili Hongzhuang slowly recovered her sight and stopped looking at him. Feeling the naked contempt that Baili Hongzhuang was showing him, Nangong Xiujie's face was really ugly. He did not understand what exactly gave Baili Hongzhuang the qualifications of despising him. Second brother, don't be angry. Baili Hongzhuang is trying to make you angry this way. Nangong Yujin held a smug smile on his face. Just the situation of Dongfang Yu had already angered them this much. If his older brother did it a few more times, wouldn't they collapse completely? Hearing the words, Nangong Xiujie's face was also good once more. It is true that their cultivators are immensely weak. Next, Xiujie was up against Nanyangza. Perhaps Xiujie was too angry, but in the fight she directly viewed Nanyangza as Nangong Xiujie and erupted with a fierce attack. She was extremely violent. The scene attracted a shocking attention from the audience. No one thought that Xiujie would be so horrible when she exploded in anger. It truly surprised many people. When Nanyangza lost in the hands of Xiujie, she seemed to have been addicted to beating him, which had led to a burst of speechlessness. When the result of the second round was announced, the Baili College was the ones who had the ugliest faces. In the third round, they only had one person. Song Hongxi's face had the same color as pig's liver. Xiaolan Mei was their only final chance to enter the finals. If not, then Baili College would lose all face. The next test is in an hour. After this time, the third round will be held. When the words fell, they all returned to the rest area. Jiqing, your battle was too shocking and violent. You have surprised us all. Zhang Yunfeng could not help but feel emotional. It seemed that one should not simply insult Xiujie. Her power was not to be belittled. Xiujie was a little embarrassed. I was too angry and just exploded. I did not expect that I would be able to advance to the third round. Our college has gotten 3 who advanced to the third round. In comparison to the other 2 colleges, ours is doing the best. Gong Xiaoqing slowly analyzed the situation. But the remaining Nangong Xiujie and Xiaolan Mei are not easy to deal with. As such, we should only expect one person to enter the final. Not bad, the others nodded. Although they had the most numbers now, the final result was not easy to predict. Chapter 762. Give Nangong Xiujie to me. Nangong Xiujie is a big problem. Gong Xiaoqing spoke with a low voice. If they faced off against Nangong Xiujie in the third round, they were likely to be dealt with in the same way as Dongfangyu. This was a way of loss that their college could not handle. Xiujie and the others also had worry in their eyes. Nangong Xiujie was so strong, there was no such thing as being able to overpower him, and his behavior was extremely despicable. In the next round, there was only one person who could fight Nangong Xiujie, but this was a big problem. Just when everyone were worried about Nangong Xiujie, the voice of Baili Hongzhuang suddenly rang. Give Nangong Xiujie to me. When the words came out, everyone looked at Baili Hongzhuang. Gong Xiaoqing shook his head for the first time. No, you are the strongest in our team. It is impossible that you enter the finals. You cannot be used to deal with Nangong Xiujie. Xiujie and the others also nodded their heads. Nangong Xiujie was so strong. If Baili Hongzhuang was also defeated, Gong Xiaoqing would not be able to defeat him in the final. Because of this, Baili Hongzhuang was the hope of their school. She was not to be used to deal with Nangong Xiujie. Gong Xiaoqing is right. Hongzhuang, you have to be safe and enter the finale. Xiujie said seriously. Although she is very angry about the thing with Dongfangyu, she had not lost her reason. Looking at the bigger picture, the final was the most important thing, and they could not be tempted by the moment of anger. However, Baili Hongzhuang shook her head. Don't worry. Nangong Xiujie will be defeated by me. She will never let Nangong Xiujie be arrogant. Since he was humiliating Dongfangyu this way, then she would use the same way to humiliate Nangong Xiujie. Since Nangong Xiujie vowed that he would enter finals, then she would let him stop outside the finals. Hongzhuang. Just as Gong Xiaoqing was about to talk, Baili Hongzhuang lifted his hand to interrupt him. I don't have much to say about this matter, but I will let Nangong Xiujie regret it. The beautiful eyes of Baili Hongzhuang was shining with a cold light. Nangong Xiujie had successfully provoked her anger. She is bound to let him pay the price. Seeing the firm attitude of Baili Hongzhuang, everyone were worried, but they also believed in Baili Hongzhuang and thought she had to have her own reasons. After all, so far, the judgment of Baili Hongzhuang had never been wrong. Since your mind is set on it, I will not stop you. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with forbearance. In fact, he was also very angry because of the incident. He wanted to kill Nangong Xiujie directly. Only, he was not powerful enough. In the past, he had thought that he was strong enough, but after this college meeting, he understood that he was merely a frog at the bottom of a well. Because they are not strong enough, they need to endure such humiliation. He could only watch as his good brother was bullied, unable to do anything, completely helpless. At this moment, an unspeakable anger and unwillingness exploded in his heart. Even when they had been ridiculed by the Lingyin college, it was nothing, but now that they had insulted and humiliated Dongfangyu like this, he felt a deep anger. If he was strong enough, then how could people ridicule them like this? If he was strong enough, he could personally avenge his brother. Chapter 763. To take Baili Hongzhuang as a wife? Hongzhuang, I also support you. Kill this annoying guy. Xiujie's eyes flashed with anger. He was so arrogant, and they couldn't stand it. Bai Junyu and the others also agreed. In fact, this was what they wanted the most. It was just because of the overall situation that they choose to bear with it. However, after Baili Hongzhuang made this decision, they choose to support it. Perhaps they were not rational enough. Perhaps their ideas were not good enough, but this was what they wanted to do, and it was in their blood. As cultivators, they had always been at the front together with their brothers. This time, they would fight. We cannot forget that not only is there Nangong Xiujie, there is also Xiaolan Mei. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with wisdom while he was speaking. Although Xiaolan Mei is indifferent, he is very strong. He has never humiliated the other party, so even if he defeats us, it doesn't matter. Although Xiaolan Mei was in another group than them, they did not find him disgusting. From their previous battles, they could see that he was a proper man. He was not being bothered by Shui Haolang and the others, and his indifference came from the heart. Everyone nodded. Amongst all the people fighting, Nangong Xiujie was the scum among scum. I am afraid that Nangong Xiujie is doing this because of me. I am sorry for dragging you all on, Yunjue said with a low voice. As soon as the words were said, Cui Haoyan immediately answered, Gongzi, this matter has nothing to do with you at all. You have been implicated from the start. Why would you apologize? Not only Cui Haoyan, but all others also felt the same way. Yunjue belonged to the Qing dynasty, but he was willing to offend the two princes for them. This was already making them immensely grateful. Anyway, Nangong Yue caused you some trouble, and I am quite angry because of this. Yunjue's face was a little gloomy. With a personality like Nangong Xiujie, he would never be able to become a successor to the Qing dynasty in his life. Too shameless, mean, and selfies. He was much worse than Nangong Aochan. Everyone could see that Yunjue was genuinely angry in their behalf, and a slight smile appeared on their faces. Their impression of Yunjue was really good. Gongzi, Nangong Yue hunts you so seriously, but you haven't been subdued by her yet. I admire you very much. Thinking about how Nangong Yue mistook Baili Hongzhuang for Yunjue's wife, they found it quite fun. Even the furious expression of hers made Xiujie laugh out loud. Yunjue smiled helplessly. In fact, I think this is a quite distressing matter. If I could find myself a wife, then this problem would be solved. Gongzi, I am afraid that it is not just a few women who is scrambling to marry you. I guess your vision is too high. Zhang Yunfeng smiled and joked with him. Now that they had figured out what to do next, everyone's mood had relaxed a little. You have all seen how hot-headed Nangong Yue is. Unless I find a strong woman like Baili Hongzhuang, I am afraid that they will always lose to Nangong Yue. Yunjue joked. However, when everyone heard his words, their expressions changed subtly. Chapter 764. The Inscription Master's Search. It seemed that their guesses were not wrong. Yunjue seemed to like Baili Hongzhuang. Even if he was aware that Baili Hongzhuang had already married someone, it was impossible for Yunjue to let go of his like for her. If it wasn't so, then he would never say such a thing. Xiujie and Zhang Yunfeng were both looking at Baili Hongzhuang with envy. It was hard for a woman to not envy her. Beichun was so outstanding, and he gave up all other women only to devote himself to Baili Hongzhuang. But Yunjue was aware that she already had a sweetheart. Even so, he was still willing to offend the two princes on her behalf. There was also a bit of surprise in Baili Hongzhuang's eyes. Yunjue suddenly sighed this. It was truly a bit ambiguous. Master, Yunjue might like you too. Little Black exclaimed. His master's charm was really irresistible. It seemed that Beichun would have to stay beside their master in the future. Even if she was married, it would not affect the charm of their master. Haha, I don't know when Beichun will come back. It's no wonder Yunjue has been helping the master. Little White laughed, as if it had no fear in the world. Baili Hongzhuang was helpless. She really wanted to knock the heads of those two small guys who dared to tease her. While Baili Hongzhuang was attending the college tournament, the three inscription masters once again gathered in Wubao Pavilion. However, they did not see Baili Hongzhuang, so all they could do was ask the sales assistant. Master Bai, the girl left after you that day. I do not know where she is now. A bit of helplessness appeared on the sales assistant's face. Each one of the three masters appeared today, and all asked her the same question. However, the girl told her nothing before, and she never asked. Such an important person. How come you did not even ask where she lived? Bai Jingtian looked dissatisfied. He had rushed back immediately after completing the research, and to his surprise, everything was exactly like Baili Hongzhuang had said. It was so amazing. The problem that had always puzzled him had been solved in this way. He believed that as long as he could discuss me with Baili Hongzhuang, he could learn more. Today he no longer treated Baili Hongzhuang as a junior, but as an equal. The accomplishments of Baili Hongzhuang in the field of inscriptions can already be considered that of a master. However, he did not know where Baili Hongzhuang was. If Baili Hongzhuang had already left the imperial city, wouldn't he be depressed? Old man Bai, was the test successful after you returned? Qingqiu asked out loud. Bai Jingtian nodded his head. Yes. I have never heard the little girl's words before, but it is the most convenient way. It really makes me like this girl. Jian was also impressed. After I went back to research it, I immediately returned to HRE. But I don't know what master can teach this little girl. This is really amazing. Unfortunately, we have no trace of the little girl. Qingqiu frowned. I'll inquire about the traces of this little girl immediately. That day, they were too troubled about the problem to think about anything else. Chapter 765. Problematic future. The eyes of Bai Jingtian and Jian shone as they decided that they could not let Baili Hongzhuang leave just like that. This kind of talent is truly horrifying. Old Man Qin said as well, as he immediately asked them to inquire of the whereabouts of the little girl. The sales assistant in Wu Bao Pavilion saw that the Inscription masters, whom he thought were high above all else, were looking for the small girl in a hurry, and he was surprised. Just who was this girl? How could she make 3 Inscription masters forget all about their image? Once the news spread, he feared that the entire imperial capital would be shocked. The 3 Inscription masters were big figures in the imperial capital, and they had a wide network of connections. So many people would want to befriend them, but it was simply impossible. Now, these 3 Inscription masters had taken the initiative to look for this girl. It was simply unheard of before. For some time, many people started searching for the whereabouts of Baili Hongzhuang. As long as it was possible to help the 3 Inscription masters, then they might gain something from it. They might even get an inscription. That is such a good thing that they normally would never be able to ask for. Baili Hongzhuang was unaware that the 3 Inscription masters were using their power to find a trace of her. She was still waiting for the start of the 3rd round in the competition. Master, Nangong Xiujie is at the 3rd layer of the Red Realm. Although you might usually have no problems dealing with a 3rd layer Red Realm practitioner, this Nangong Xiujie might have some hidden cards. Little Black analyzed. Baili Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. Nangong Xiujie must have his hidden cards, but as to how many he has, it is still unknown. Although he has the background of the royal family, all he could have, apart from natural treasures, was royal martial arts. However, behind her was the amazing Baili family. How could she possibly lose to Nangong Xiujie and that kind of thing? Seeing the confident appearance of Baili Hongzhuang, Little Black and Little White looked at each other, a smile hidden in their eyes. Their master was the most domineering person. Baisher also fiddled bored white as pawns. Damn, it was really depressing that he had not had the chance to fight yet. Soon after, the vice principal and Lu Huayan returned. However, Fu Hongbo and Dongfang Yu never returned. Obviously, the situation with Dongfang Yu could not be dealt with so easily. Fu Hongbo was there trying to get Dongfang Yu out of the mental demons. Teacher, how is Dongfang Yu's situation? Gong Shaoqing asked immediately after seeing Lu Huayan's return. Lu Huayan's face was a bit helpless as he shook his head. The situation is very BA. Dongfang Yu has been hit too hard to be able to get out of it. A confident person, was suddenly defeated like this. All his confidence and self-assurance completely destroyed. It is not easy to gain hope again. Instantly, everyone's hearts sank, but the anger in their eyes was even more intense. If Dongfang Yu is unable to escape from it, his future achievements would be incredibly limited. Don't think about it for the time being. Fight well. I believe Dongfang Yu's ability will be good enough to break through this encounter and have even better results in the future. Lu Huayan's eyes flashed with a firm light. He held confidence in his students. Chapter 766. Free Pass. Baili Hongzhuang. Although Lu Huayan was very optimistic, everyone understood that it was not an easy breakthrough. The matter had caused Dongfang Yu to become like this, and the one behind it was Nangong Xiujie. The hatred in everyone's heart was a bit more intense. Huan Qinyue also returned to the high platform, but his peaceful face was a lot colder at the moment. Dongfang Yu had become like this. As a vice principal, he was riddled with guilt. If Dongfang Yu had not participated in the test, he would not have ended up like this. Seeing Huan Chuyu return, the faces of Jiang Qingqiu, Lin Hao, and Song Hongxi did not change. They obviously believed from the start that the Kanglan College people did not deserve to be regarded equal to them. The third round of the competition begins now. Jian Qingqiu said, "Because there are 5 cultivators left, we will draw lots. The cultivator who gets the blank sign will go directly to the next round." Listening to Jian Qingqiu's decision, everyone is surprised. How great it would be if one could get the free pass. 5 people, including Baili Hongzhuang, went to draw the lottery. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes could not help but fall on the blank tag in her hand. She did not expect that the person who got the blank sign turned out to be her. Nangong Xiujie against Gong Shaoqing. Xiaolan Mei against Xiujie. Baili Hongzhuang sits over. When everyone heard this, they were even more emotional. They had not expected that Baili Hongzhuang would be so fortunate. For a time, everyone were shocked by Baili Hongzhuang's good luck. Anyone who can reach the finals will get a lot of attention. Baili Hongzhuang was able to go straight to that level. Regardless of her final ranking, the fact that she could enter the final was already enough to be proud of. Everyone at Kanglan College were a little surprised when they heard the news. Baili Hongzhuang had originally planned on dealing with Nangong Xiujie. She had not expected her luck to be this good. However, it is a good result. She can save her strength and enter the final, which is beneficial to them. Nangong Xiujie smiled coldly at Baili Hongzhuang and said sarcastically, "It seems that you are very lucky, but we will meet sooner or later in the final. Even if you kneel to me for mercy, I will not let you go." Baili Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly, and she could not help but ridiculing him. "You really think too much." In the first battle of the third round, Nangong Xiujie is against Gong Shaoqing. Lin Hao said. However, at this moment, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly interrupted. "Principal, I wonder if you can transfer this blank card to others?" After hearing the words, Huan Chuyu, Jian Qingqiu, Lin Hao, and Song Hongxi were shocked. They had not expected Baili Hongzhuang to ask this suddenly, but it was the scene that Jian Qingqiu wanted to see the most. Judging from the previous situation, the strength of Baili Hongzhuang is obviously good. This round turned out to be so bad for them. But who would have thought that Baili Hongzhuang would make such a demand without fearing her own death? Chapter 767. Baili Hongzhuang is impulsive. Huan Chuyu looked at Baili Hongzhuang in wonder, wondering why Baili Hongzhuang would suddenly make this decision. Logically saying, this is already the best result for their college. Who will Baili Hongzhuang transfer her rights to? Lu Huayan was also stunned. Is there any reason for Baili Hongzhuang to do this? Without waiting for Huan Chuyu to answer, Jiang Qingqiu has already taken the lead to say, "Yes, however, who would you like to give the rights to?" Gong Shaoqing, Baili Hongzhuang said without hesitation. "Okay, then this battle will be changed to Nangong Xiujie and Baili Hongzhuang." Gong Shaoqing goes directly to the finale. Jiang Qingqiu's ace was filled with a deep smile. The biggest ace for Kanglan College was Baili Hongzhuang. Now Nangong Xiujie would be able to solve Baili Hongzhuang, so Gong Shaoqing would not be able to make any waves in the final. Looking at the bright smile on Jiang Qingqiu's face, Huan Chuyu scolded him in his heart. Just by looking at Jiang Qingqiu's smile, he could already guess that the wishful thinking he was dreaming of. If it was not good for Lingyin College, it would be impossible for them to promise it. Now that Jiang Qingqiu has already spoken, it will be useless even if he complains, so he could not help but feel helpless for a while. He was wondering why Baili Hongzhuang made this decision. Gong Shaoqing and Xiujie slowly returned to the Kanglan College. Lu Huayan saw the two and asked, "Why did Baili Hongzhuang make such a decision?" "Hongzhuang wants to take revenge for Dongfang Yu." Xiujie never concealed it and directly said the truth. In fact, this was what all of them wanted to do. Listening to Xiujie's words, Lu Huayan couldn't help but sigh. Too impulsive. He could not help but imagine that Baili Hongzhuang would fail this battle. Whether it was Nangong Aochin, Nangong Xiujie, or Shaolin Mei, they were not easy people to deal with. With Gong Shaoqing wanting to defeat them, it was too hard. But can Kanglan College really come back now? Thinking of the fact that they might lose again, Lu Huayan's face was very ugly. Kanglan College would not be able to handle another blow like this. However, he does not feel that Baili Hongzhuang's approach is wrong. No matter what the outcome of the college tournament, he would always stay by the college's side. So what if they don't belong to the 3 colleges in the future? Today, Lingyin and Beihai College are too embarrassing. They had long since lost their original beliefs. So, being a part of the 3 colleges does not make sense any longer. Teacher, no matter how the results will be, we all feel that this is very meaningful. Cui Haoyan said in a low voice. Ever since they had arrived at Lingyin College, they had been humiliated. Why should they let these despicable people look down on them? Perhaps this decision was impulsive, but they did not regret it. At a young age, if you're not sometimes impulsive, then you are not young. Understanding this, Lu Huayan nodded. Yes, Nangong Xiujie deserves a beating. However, there is one thing that Lu Huayan never said. Although Baili Hongzhuang was a second-layer Red Realm cultivator, it was 1 rank worse than Nangong Xiujie. To win this battle, he was afraid would be very difficult. However, if Baili Hongzhuang is really not Nangong Xiujie's opponent, then this time Kanglan College has no other options, so there is no difference to an early or late death. Chapter 768, Battling Nangong Xiujie on the battle platform. Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujie were standing opposite one another. The breeze was blowing, their cloths were fluttering in the wind, and the two were looking at one another. Even if they did not speak, the sharp edge showing in their eyes already showed the violent atmosphere between the two. Baili Hongzhuang, I didn't expect you to be like this, finding your own grave. Nangong Xiujie's eyes were filled with mocking, and the smile on his lips was ridiculing her. Making such a decision in front of everyone was clearly trying to make herself look good. Unfortunately, she did not have the strength to back it up. Today, he has completely ignored Mo Yunjue. No matter what kind of character Mo Yunjue is, he will never let this go. He believed that even if there was a strong power behind Mo Yunjue, he was a prince, and thus would never be touched. Of course, if Mo Yunjue knew what Nangong Xiujie was thinking at the moment, he would sneer. There is no one in this world he would not dare to move against. However, this depended on whether or not it mattered enough, and Baili Hongzhuang clearly mattered enough. Since you want to find death, I will fulfill you. Nangong Xiujie turned his head and looked down on Baili Hongzhuang. His confident, proud smile seemed as if he had already won victory. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes glanced at him, revealing indifference and disdain. You seem to be very fond of being a royal piece of crap, spending so much time to just talk. What purpose is there? Hearing her words, Nangong Xiujie's face could not help but be gloomy. Baili Hongzhuang's words completely ripped open his face and defeated his previous arrogance. The feeling of saying a lot of ruthless words, wanting to see your opponent tremble in fear, however the other person was completely ignoring you and said a few words, rendering you speechless. Obviously, Baili Hongzhuang's ability to beat his face is first-rate. The contest begins. As the words of the referee fell, the atmosphere condensed. Nangong Xiujie's eyes darkened a bit, and he put away his previous arrogance. His eyes were a bit more serious. He is different from Nangong Xiujie, who likes to underestimate her enemy. Besides, Baili Hongzhuang has previously proven her ability. If he gets beaten, this will be very bad for his image. Next moment, Nangong Xiujie held the palm of his hand, and Yuanli swept through his body without reservation. His feet slammed against the ground, and he tore through the air as he appeared in front of Baili Hongzhuang in a flash. Seeing this scene, Baili Hongzhuang knows that Nangong Xiujie is decent, but she has no fear of others' physical fitness. A long sword pierced the air, and an amazing pressure stab towers Baili Hongzhuang like lightning. Baili Hongzhuang's body retreated. The glass sword came out, and she welcomed Nangong Xiujie's sword move. Ding! 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 The movements of the two were fast as thunder. The sword lights were dazzling. As if two whirlwinds were entangled with each other, the sound of the weapons hitting each other continued to emerge from the whirlwind. The hard ground of the platform was punctured by sword holes, and as the dust scattered, everyone looked in deep confusion. Most of the people can't see the battle that is going on. They can only see the two colors rotating. It was a weird situation. Chapter 769. Shocked Nangong Xiujie. The two of them fiercely contested, and this completely ignited the atmosphere on the platform. Everyone looked at the battle without blinking, afraid to miss even the slightest detail. In the battles so far, only this battle was the most fierce, and everyone thought that all the previous battles were not as good as this one. Nangong Xiujie was best at his speed, so he wanted to use his own speed to completely defeat Baili Hongzhuang. However, he did not expect Baili Hongzhuang's speed to be also fast. He tried his best and still had no advantage over her in terms of speed. Not only that, but Baili Hongzhuang was also very skillful with her sword. She was even more skillful than him. If not for his Lingyin to be a level higher than Baili Hongzhuang, perhaps he would be in a disadvantageous position. At the thought of this possibility, Nangong Xiujie felt that it was impossible. How could Baili Hongzhuang's combat experience be so rich? Suddenly, the two figures separated with a blast, standing in the two corners of the platform. Both of their clothes were somewhat damaged. Faint traces of blood could be seen on their clothes. In the line of sight, although the white dress of Baili Hongzhuang was scratched by the sharp sword and a little blood was oozing out on the arm, but her indifferent face didn't even show the slightest bit of tiredness. Obviously, this battle did not have much impact on Baili Hongzhuang. The situation of Nangong Xiujie was also good. However, his chest was oozing out some blood. It was obvious that in this exchange, it was Nangong Xiujie who was at a disadvantage. Seeing this scene, everyone was inextricably stunned. I didn't expect Baili Hongzhuang to be so strong. Nangong Xiujie is a third-layer Red Realm cultivator. Doesn't that mean that Baili Hongzhuang can fight across levels? 2. From this point of view, Baili Hongzhuang is not only a genius, but her combat ability is also very powerful. She is the ace of our college. Nangong Xiujie was so arrogant before. This situation seems to be a bit bad for him. Xiujie and other people's faces have emerged with an excited smile. They knew that Baili Hongzhuang's combat power was amazing, but did not expect it to be this amazing. Nangong Xiujie had previously called himself to be powerful, and for the first time he lost. He lost in the hands of Baili Hongzhuang. It is so funny. Xiujie smiled. Gong Xiaoqing looked at Baili Hongzhuang thoughtfully. As early as before, he already knew that the strength of Baili Hongzhuang was very strong, but now it seems that he still underestimated her. Having more combat ability, it is simpler to say, but in fact, very few people can do it. How solid one's foundation should be to achieve that. From everyone's understanding of Baili Hongzhuang, it was impossible to have such a solid foundation. To have such a solid foundation, the time and energy that needs to be spent on it is an absolutely terrifying amount. But Baili Hongzhuang had done it. Not only she was a very talented pharmacist, but she also had a very good understanding of inscriptions. When Baili Hongzhuang took out the inscription, there was a terrifying conjecture in his heart. Maybe Baili Hongzhuang was the inscriptionist who drew the inscription? Just that, is this even possible? But this is something that could only be answered by Baili Hongzhuang herself. Chapter 770, Devil's Palm. If it was someone else, he wouldn't hesitate to say that it was impossible, but if it was Baili Hongzhuang, he wouldn't be able to give a definite answer. In the beginning, when Baili Hongzhuang came to the college, her strength was outstanding, but she was not his one or Dongfang Yu's opponent. But now, in just a short time, Baili Hongzhuang overtook them, and this kind of progress was simply terrific. Despite obtaining the legacy of the ancient ruins, luck was also part of the strength. At least in this respect, he was unable to compare with Baili Hongzhuang. Lu Huayan's eyes were also flashing with joy. This performance of Baili Hongzhuang was simply stunning. Qinyue also put aside the worries in his heart. Although Baili Hongzhuang was young, she always had her own reasons for doing things, and now they have no choice but to believe in her. Compared with the calm Qinyue, Jian Qingqiu's face turned black. He never imagined that Baili Hongzhuang's strength could reach this level. If Baili Hongzhuang won this competition, it would be really bad. Nangong Xiujie's face was also very ugly. He originally thought of winning in a brilliant manner that did not leave a way for Baili Hongzhuang to counterattack. But what happened now was not the same as he had imagined. That was just the appetizer. Now let's start the real battle. Nangong Xiujie put away the arrogance that he had in the past, and his eyes were serious. Now he has a clear understanding of Baili Hongzhuang's strength. She was not simple. If he was not careful, he would lose in her hands. And such a result, he refused to accept. Hearing what Nangong Xiujie said, the look of the people changed again. The battle between the two was so fierce, and it was just the appetizer? So how terrific would the real battle be? Baili Hongzhuang indifferently said, "All right, let's quickly finish this." She knew that Nangong Xiujie have yet to use all his strength, but she also hasn't used all of her strength. The next is the real contest. In a flash, Nangong Xiujie directly withdrew his weapon. Then, Yunli rushed wildly and continually gathered on his hands. Everyone saw that Nangong Xiujie's hands were continuously moving, and a complex ball of Yunli formed in his hands. At the same time, a powerful and heart-rending force spread from his hands. "Devil's palm," Nangong Xiujie shouted, and to everyone's horror, a huge palm was suspended in the air. The palm was in white color, but it was covered with black veins like palm prints. It was dreadful. In particular, the frightening power emitted by this martial art made many people's hearts palpitate. That was a force that could threaten their lives. It is a high-level, mysterious grade martial art skill. The crowd exclaimed, "The imperial family is famous for its might, and their might is extremely formidable." It is said that in the past there have been members of the imperial family who used this skill to defeat their opponent, whose Yunli was a level higher. I didn't expect Nangong Xiujie to practice Devil's Palm. It also seems that he has mastered it. I'm afraid that this time Baili Hongzhuang is finished. Yes, the royal family's heritage is not comparable to that of ordinary people. It is unwise to offend Nangong Xiujie. Chapter 771. Shocking everyone. Seeing Nangong Xiujie's move, Baili Hongzhuang's face did not show the least bit of panic. Baili Hongzhuang's speed was not slow. Her hands moved as she made many complicated and mysterious handprints. Everyone was dazzled. It could be seen that the level of martial arts skill used by Baili Hongzhuang is not by any means weak in terms of speed or complexity. The final result of the battle was still unknown. Sacred Palm. When a violent energy fluctuation broke out from the hands of Baili Hongzhuang, and a few beads of sweat could also be seen between her brows. Everyone was stunned because the energy fluctuation which spread out from Baili Hongzhuang was not weaker than that of the Devil's Palm. Then, a huge palm with a cyan-colored flame appeared behind Baili Hongzhuang. As the cyan flame burned, and the temperature around the platform rose a little instantly, and beads of sweat appeared on practitioners' faces who were close. Obviously, the martial arts skill of Baili Hongzhuang was also a mysterious grade martial arts skill, and its level was also not weaker than that of Nangong Xiujie. Sensing the power of these two powerful fluctuations, the onlookers who were quite close to the platform took a few steps back. As long as the two martial arts collide, the energy that erupts must be terrifying. If they were too close to the platform, they might get implicated in the resulting disaster. Seeing that everyone has stepped back, many people sighed. The difference of strength between the acquired realm and congenital realm was too high. 2. The power brought by Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujie was not bearable to ordinary people. Xiujie couldn't help but worry a little. She didn't expect that Nangong Xiujie's reputation for being powerful wasn't undeserved but true. These fluctuations were too frightening. Baili Hongzhuang wouldn't have an accident, right? Not only Xia Yuqing, Gong Shaoqing, and the others were also very worried. In a fight of this kind of level, they can no longer judge who is stronger. A look of ruthlessness flashed past Nangong Xiujie's eyes. The huge palm did not hesitate to hit Baili Hongzhuang. Die! Baili Hongzhuang's sacred palm slammed against the devil's palm fiercely. The white light and the cyan light collided violently, and the devil's palm and the sacred palm collided together in the sight of countless people. Boom! A powerful bang sounded as if it had come from the ninth heaven. The unusually violent energy was raging around the platform. Boom! The sky seemed to collapse at that instant, and the violent white and cyan lights swept away everything that came in contact, each occupying a half side of the platform. Under the stage of the competition, countless practitioners were shocked looking at the violent energy on the stage. It was a really astonishing sight. Nangong Yujin and others who were previously unperturbed were also nervously looking at the high platform at this moment. This fierce battle has exceeded their expectations. The crowd was silent at this moment. Only the explosions caused by the two martial arts skills could be heard. Almost all the onlookers couldn't even say a word. This kind of confrontation, even the previous year's college tournaments, was very rare. No one could predict the winner of this battle. The talent of Baili Hongzhuang was amazing. Nangong Xiujie was strong. What's more, Nangong Xiujie's Yuan was even a level higher than Baili Hongzhuang. Chapter 772. You lose. When the white light and the cyan light disappeared, the smoke gradually dispersed, and everyone could see everything that was in front of them. The two figures on the stage gradually appeared in everyone's eyes. The originally hard and tough platform already had a huge, deep pit in the middle, and there were numerous cracks like a spider web in its sides. Nangong Xiujie still stood in his original position. His luxurious robes had been stained with blood, his hair was messy, and he was all smiling. On the other hand, Baili Hongzhuang's plain white dress was also blooming with blood, her fine black hair draped over the shoulders. Her delicate and beautiful face was pale. Baili Hongzhuang could not even imagine how the battle which she thought that she could have easily won had become like this. However, the originally lively environment seemed to be frozen at this moment, and everyone's eyes were focused on Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujie. Although Nangong Xiujie's face was a bit pale, his figure was still straight, and the corner of his mouth slowly spurred a sneer. You lose. It was just the two simple words. Baili Hongzhuang's face turned ugly, but she pretended to not care. I won't puff. 2. Before even she could finish a sentence, Baili Hongzhuang could not control the blood rushing out of her throat and spewed out a mouthful of blood. As blood spewed out, Baili Hongzhuang's face instantly turned pale. The whole person was unsteady and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, everyone there sucked in a breath of cold air. The result was really imaginable. Who told Baili Hongzhuang to oppose Nangong Xiujie? No matter what, Nangong Xiujie had the advantage. Of course, in this situation, Nangong Xiujie won. How could this be? Xiujie and others were with unspeakable pain and hatred. Baili Hongzhuang actually lost. Since you guys are so cruel, you can only watch her die. Nangong Xiujie indifferently said. Nangong Xiujie went towards Baili Hongzhuang step by step, and Baili Hongzhuang, who had no strength to stand up, had a touch of tension in her eyes after seeing him come closer. What are you going to do? The smile on Nangong Xiujie's lips gradually widened. It was enchanting and charming. Every step of him was very slow, but it was extremely firm, as if every step was stepping on Baili Hongzhuang's heart. MMPH. Nangong Xiujie did not answer Baili Hongzhuang, but kissed Baili Hongzhuang directly in her mouth. At that moment, Baili Hongzhuang saw two figures at the distance, coldly watching her. It was Dibei-chun and Han Xiling. Why were they here? Dibei-chun might have come for her, but why did he come together with Han Xiling? Chapter 773. You are just trash. Fearing that Chen might misunderstand, Baili Hongzhuang fiercely bit his tongue. Seeing this scene, everyone is sucked in cold breath again. Was Baili Hongzhuang crazy? She wanted to humiliate Nangong Xiujie in such a way? But this is the Qing country's capital. However, when everyone of Kangling College saw this scene, they only felt their blood boil and every cell in their body was excited. This was Baili Hongzhuang's counterattack. Baili Hongzhuang sneered as she looked at Nangong Xiujie condescendingly. Her eyes were full of disdain. She wanted to pay back all the things that Nangong Xiujie had done to Dongfangyu, and also didn't want Chen to misunderstand. She wanted Nangong Xiujie to taste the pain of being humiliated. You are just trash. When he said this, Nangong Xiujie's eyes were bloodshot. He was a high-ranking prince. When was he humiliated like this? Baili Hongzhuang, you are looking for death. Nangong Xiujie gnashed his teeth. This was the biggest shame in his life. He had always been condescending, but now he was being bitten by a woman. It was simply unbearable. Oh, Baili Hongzhuang chuckled. Is it that only you are allowed to humiliate people and others are not allowed to humiliate you? 1. You are merely relying on your identity as a prince to oppress everyone. If you did not have this identity, you are nothing. The next moment, Nangong Xiujie threw her down to the ground below the platform and said, If I am trash, you are the trash of all trashes. Everyone stomp on her and beat her to death. After saying this, Nangong Xiujie left the platform without hesitation. Only Baili Hongzhuang was still lying below the platform and was suffering unbearable humiliation. Baili Hongzhuang used her actions to take revenge for Dongfangyu. Originally, the Kangling College practitioners who saw this should have been very angry, but somehow they also felt indescribably happy. Perhaps they had secretly envied her on weekdays, forgetting that they also have a backbone and also have an unyielding will. But no one went to help Baili Hongzhuang. She was still lying there surrounded by a sea of students from various colleges looking at her. There was a thick smile on the face of Han Xiling. Baili Hongzhuang not only didn't disappoint her, but her performance was also perfect. Now with this, how can Chen still love her? It was hard for Han Xiling's heart to conceal the excitement. There was also a rumor of Baili Hongzhuang being that Yunjue's wife, and it was also said that they even had a child. Chapter 774. Completely wiped out compared with the happy Huan Qinyue, Jian Qingqiu, and Linghao's faces were very ugly. Originally based on Nangong Xiujie's strength, it was impossible for him to lose this battle. But now he has not only lost the battle, but also got humiliated in public. On the contrary, with the fact that Nangong Xiujie had previously humiliated Dongfangyu, this scene was taken for granted. The most important thing is that this was Lingyin College's territory. Not only they had lost the battle in their own territory, but even the students of Lingyin College were applauding Baili Hongzhuang. This was simply nonsensical. Now, because of the overall situation, they can't stop their students from cheering. If this matter was spread, it would only bring shame to the history of Lingyin College. Sang Hongxi was equally astonished. He looked at Huan Qinyue with a hint of envy in his eyes. It was a great blessing for Kangling College to have a student like Baili Hongzhuang. So far, all the limelight of the inter-college tournament had been robbed by Baili Hongzhuang, and the entire Beihai College seems to have become a foil. Regardless of the final result of this tournament, no one will forget the amazing performance of the Kangling College. Nangong Yujin's face was ugly to the extreme. Although they represent Lingyin College, as Qing's princes, they also represented the face of the Qing's imperial family. Now all the people who represented college have been wiped out. This was not only the shame for Lingyin College, but also the shame for their imperial family. As of now, there was only one person remaining, and that was Nangong Aochin. Although Nangong Aochin was strong enough to win first place in the inter-college tournament, they have lost in the first few elimination rounds. This reality made the Qing's royal family unsatisfactory. Nangong Yujin quickly jumped onto the platform and immediately carried back Nangong Xiujie, who was unable to move. Nangong Xiujie had already been ridiculed. If he still stayed here, it would just be a joke in the eyes of everyone. He was even more worried that his second brother couldn't stand such a big blow. On normal days, only his second brother humiliates others. When was the situation of others humiliating his second brother? It had never happened before. What's more, when it happened, it still happened in the eyes of the public. With his second brother's temper, he was afraid that he would completely collapse. Xiujie and others immediately came to Baili Hongzhuang's side. In this battle, though Baili Hongzhuang was not hurt that much, it was necessary to go back to rest. When Yunjue saw such a proud Baili Hongzhuang, and the touch of appreciation in his eyes deepened, it seems that he was not mistaken, and Baili Hongzhuang was really different from nary women. Even he had to admire today's performance of Baili Hongzhuang. Lingyin looked at Baili Hongzhuang and others, and his indifferent eyes flashed with a trace of interest. He hadn't felt like this in a long time. Baili College was a place where everyone only pays attention to their own interests. But to go this level in order to help their friends take revenge, he was afraid that there had never been such a case in the history of Baili College. Perhaps this move of Baili Hongzhuang was stupid in the eyes of many people, but this kind of rare friendship was very valuable. Hongzhuang, how are you? Xiujie held Baili Hongzhuang, and her smart eyes were full of worry. Although this battle made her very happy, Baili Hongzhuang's injuries were the most important. Baili Hongzhuang waved slightly. The injury is not very serious, don't worry. Most of her sufferings were superficial and did not hurt her vitals, so the impact was not that great. Chapter 775. The Dark Horse. Baili Hongzhuang. Xiujie looked deeply at Baili Hongzhuang. Are you really okay? Looking at the uncertainty and worry in Xiujie's eyes, Baili Hongzhuang smiled lightly. Do not worry. This battle has not hurt my vitals, and the superficial injuries will soon recover. Seeing that Baili Hongzhuang was all right, Xiujie let go the worry in her heart. After all, Baili Hongzhuang herself was a godly doctor. She believed that Baili Hongzhuang knows her physical condition very well. Lu Huayan also went to Baili Hongzhuang. There was no shortage of worry in his eyes. Baili Hongzhuang, your contest for today is over. Go back to rest soon. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. All right. Baili Hongzhuang returned to the dormitory under the eyes of everyone. Yunjue was also in the crowd. The face that had always been calm and not too emotional had not fluctuated too much and was indifferent as usual. However, the eyes that were as deep as a black hole had a few changes, but the fluctuations disappeared too quickly, making it impossible for others to see. The long-awaited inter-college tournament elimination round ended with the unforgettable and eye-catching battle of Baili Hongzhuang. All the students left. After this battle, no one dared to treat the Qingqiu College students with contempt, because they proved their strength with action. The strong was always respected. Qinyue left the high platform with a smile on his face, and the next mess was handed over to Jian Qingqiu to deal with. Regardless of the results of the final, it was only in this year's tournament that the limelight of Lingyin College and Baili College had completely been snatched by the Qingqiu College. The people who were originally onlookers also dispersed with a face full of shock. They thought that this time Lingyin College would crush Qingqiu College with an irresistible momentum. Who could have thought that Qingqiu College would explode with such a huge, unexpected victory? On the other hand, except for Nangong, who directly advanced to the finals, all the other participants of the Lingyin College have been eliminated in the elimination round. The audience thought Nangong Xiujie would win, but he actually lost in the hands of Baili Hongzhuang. Not to mention, Baili Hongzhuang still won, while fighting across levels. What kind of combat power was this? Baili Hongzhuang was definitely the dark horse of this time's inter-college tournament. In the end, Baili College only entered the finals due to Lingyin. 1. As for Lingyin, those who watched this battle knew that Lingyin was also very strong. But, under the cover of Baili Hongzhuang, the limelight of Lingyin was completely obscured. However, everyone understood that the finals that is to be held tomorrow is the real highlight. This year's tournament seemed to be more exciting than every previous session. Although Xiujie lost in the hands of Lingyin was obviously not a scum like Nangong Xiujie. He did not make any excessive moves and finished the battle as soon as possible. In this regard, Xiujie also accepted this failure with peace of mind. Being able to advance to the third round has exceeded her expectations. As for being the trump card of the college, Xiujie has already prepared for it, so she does not feel a bit disappointed. Inside the house, Baili Hongzhuang looked at the people who cared about her in the house. A beautiful smile couldn't help but emerge. You can rest assured I am fine. Her injury was clear to herself. It only needs to be nursed back to recover, but her skin might need some time to heal. Notes: 1. The previous translator used his name as Xiaolan Mei, while it is actually Lingyin. Chapter 776. CHUYOU'S pill. Qinyue walked to Baili Hongzhuang's side and handed a white porcelain bottle to her. Baili Hongzhuang, take this pill as soon as possible and take a rest. Although he still felt that Baili Hongzhuang's move was a little impulsive, but with how it ended, Qinyue felt very happy. At least this time the slap in the face of Lingyin College was very loud. When he thought of Jian Qingqiu's and Lin Yinghao's ugly faces, he couldn't help but laugh. Vice Principal, this, not waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to say something to refuse, Qinyue directly said, "You are injured for the sake of gaining face for our college. If you don't even accept this pill, as a vice principal, I would be ashamed." Baili Hongzhuang felt the concern in his words and thought about it for a moment before nodding. "Thank you, Vice Principal." Qinyue nodded slightly. He looked at Lu Huayan and then looked at Xiujie and others. Obviously, Xiujie and others still had something to say to Baili Hongzhuang. If he and Lu Huayan were to stay here, they won't be able to chaff freely. Then I and Mentor Lu will go first. Don't stay too long. Let Baili Hongzhuang take a good rest. Qinyue said slowly. Understood. The crowd nodded while smiling. After Qinyue left, Xiujie was relieved, and her bright eyes were full of excitement. Hongzhuang, you are so great. I'm afraid this time, the one who's going to collapse is Nangong Xiujie. Haha. Since coming to Lingyin College, their mood had been very depressed. Whether it is the students of the Lingyin College or the members of the royal family, they were all so haughty and arrogant. This time, they have finally taught them a little, so they were so happy that it can't be put into words. Yunjue said it well. Then Nangong Xiujie should feel humiliated. In my opinion, he would not dare to go out within a short time. By Junyu's, his face was full of vigor. Nangong Xiujie was too arrogant before, and now Baili Hongzhuang made him lose face. He only felt refreshing. This time, Nangong Xiujie has completely thrown away his face. Gong Xiaoqing's face had a rare smile. They are not people from the Qing dynasty. Even if they were humiliated, once they leave the Qing dynasty, it will not affect them too much. Unfortunately, Nangong Xiujie did not have such good luck, having lost face in his homeland, and as a prince of the Qing dynasty, he was afraid that it will take too long before he can wash away all this. I don't know how is Dongfang. Baili Hongzhuang's brows slightly wrinkled. She did this as to take revenge for Dongfang. Now the hatred has been settled, but she didn't how Dongfang was. I just heard Mentor Lu mentioning that this news should help Dongfang. You don't need to worry about the situation of Dongfang. The final is tomorrow, your physical condition. Gong Xiaoqing's face was a little bit worried. The final is the most important. If Baili Hongzhuang was injured in the elimination round, it would be a pity that she won't be able to display her full strength in tomorrow's final. Hearing what Gong Xiaoqing said, everyone's eyes fell on Baili Hongzhuang. This was the problem that they were most worried about. In the body of Baili Hongzhuang, they saw hope, although Gong Xiaoqing is also strong, but in this final, it depended only on Baili Hongzhuang. T/talks. Well, this chapter's name is somewhat not fitting this chapter, right? 'Cause Only a fine was mentioned that HCY gave a pill to BHC. Other than that, there's nothing about that. I don't know why the author did as such. Do not worry, it will not affect. Baili Hongzhuang waved her hand. Her internal injuries were not serious. As for the skin, as long as one can endure, in tomorrow's contest, she can still perform well. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang so determined, everyone completely let go of the worry in their hearts. If Baili Hongzhuang couldn't perform in tomorrow's finals, then it would really be a pity. Hongzhuang, you have a good rest. We will not affect you here. Zhang Yunfeng's eyes were full of care, and the pale face of Baili Hongzhuang showed that her situation was not very good. If they continue to stay here and only delay the rest of the 100-year-old makeup, the finals will be held tomorrow, and the time for Baili Hongzhuang to rest was very short, so they should make her start resting as early as possible. You are tired today, go back to rest earlier. Hongzhuang, I will not bother you today. See you tomorrow. Xiujie blinked at Baili Hongzhuang and closed the door. After everyone left, Baili Hongzhuang was just about to lie down and rest, but the door was opened again, and Yunjue slowly walked in. Seeing Yunjue, Baili Hongzhuang's eyes had a trace of strange color. How come you are here? You don't seem to want to see me? Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. No. For Yunjue, Baili Hongzhuang only felt that the two of them don't seem to know each other quite well. She always felt that Yunjue was not that simple, but so far, she has never found anything wrong with him. Perhaps she overthought about things. I just came to see you. I hope your injury is not serious. Yunjue, who looked very free and unrestrained, sat down beside Baili Hongzhuang. I am okay. The injury is not serious. Baili Hongzhuang smiled and answered. I heard that you have a husband. Why didn't he come with you this time? Yunjue asked with a smile. Baili Hongzhuang was stunned. It's been a month since Qinyue left, and she wondered how things were going. In addition, Qinyue did not know that she would come to Qing country to participate in the inter-college tournament before leaving. If Qinyue hurried back to the college, he would only find that she was not there at all. If he wanted to come, it will take some time for him to meet her. She seems to have gotten used to the bright and mischievous smile of Qinyue, who always accompanied her. Now that he is not here, she also missed him. Yunjue looked at Baili Hongzhuang, and his eyes gradually changed. When Baili Hongzhuang came to her senses, she found that Yunjue had already stuffed a medicinal herb into her mouth. There was a strange color in the eyes of Baili Hongzhuang. Yunjue, what are you doing? The effect of this medicinal herb is very good. You should be able to recover as soon as possible after taking it. Yun faintly smiled. Since your true husband is not here, then let me take care of you this time. In the eyes of Baili Hongzhuang, there was a strange light shining. As an alchemist, she knew what this herb was and its effects. 4th grade elixir. This is a sacred product for healing grievous wounds, and it is a little extravagant for her simple injury. However, she was even more surprised with what Yunjue said. What's with this theory? Obviously, Yunjue did not think that it was extravagant to let Baili Hongzhuang take 4th grade elixir. Chapter 778. Nangong Aochen's Yuan is at the 5th stage of the Red Realm. He is very strong, and he is different from Nangong Xiujie. He has always faced his opponent directly and is a gentleman. However, the gentleman also has his own insistence, no matter whether he has a good relationship with Nangong Xiujie, and your actions today have always damaged the face of the royal family. I believe that Nangong Aochen will try to earn back face for the royal family in the finals. Of course, in an upright way. Nangong Aochen also has a contractual beast. Its strength is also equivalent to the 5th order human cultivator in the Red Realm. So his strength is undoubtedly the first in Lingyin College. She must be careful when she meets him in the final. But her Beast King was not weaker than his contract beast. If your Beast King is older, it could kill them. As for now, the outcome of the battle is still unknown. Listening to the information that Mo Yunjue said, a color of surprise appeared in the eyes of Baili Hongzhuang. Even if the instructors has not collected so much information about Nangong Aochin, Mo Yunjue could know everything. She felt that the reason Mo Yunjue came here was, one for her injury and the other for telling her useful information. In fact, after knowing the exact cultivation of Nangong Aochin, her heart that has been hanging was also put down. Thank you. Baili Hongzhuang was sincere. She didn't understand why Mo Yunjue would help her like this, but she really appreciated it. Mo Yunjue smiled a little. You have a good rest. I will come back to see you tomorrow. Baili Hongzhuang nodded. Be careful. With the departure of Mo Yunjue, Baili Hongzhuang was lying on the bed. The whole person relaxed. The previous battle made her exhausted, and there was also pain caused by the wound. Needless to say, the effect of fourth-grade pill, Baili Hongzhuang felt that even though her body hurts a lot, the trauma was starting to improve. The higher the grade of the drug, the better the effect, which is why the high-level alchemists are popular. After Baili Hongzhuang changed into a clean robe and wrapped her wounds, she began to rest. However, during the night, Baili Hongzhuang got a message. The final was changed to 3 days later, and the alchemy competition will be held tomorrow. After knowing this result, there was a strange color in the eyes Baili Hongzhuang. Why would they change the time of the competition? Did it happen in the previous years? I heard that this request was made by Nangong Aochin. He said that because you were injured, it is unfair to go to the finals tomorrow, so it will be changed to 3 days later. Xiujie's eyes were also filled with surprised look. Nangong Aochin's influence was just too big, just a sentence, and he had changed the course of the competition. I see. Baili Hongzhuang sighed, and couldn't help but recall the words of Mo Yunjue. Nangong Aochin was a gentleman, so he was not willing to take advantage of her injury. However, she believed that there was a more important reason for this. That is, if Nangong Aochin wants to restore the dignity of the royal family, he must defeat her in an upright manner. That was also why he was doing this. For this result, Baili Hongzhuang did not have that much feeling. It was also a good thing to give her 3 days of rest, although her injury was not serious. The next day, Baili Hongzhuang and others rushed to the place where the alchemy competition was held. Among the 3 colleges, though there were not many alchemists, the alchemy competition attracted much attention. That was just because the alchemists always seem mysterious in the eyes of the ordinary people. Since they can see the alchemists perform, nobody would want to miss it. Hongzhuang, I heard that after Nangong Xiujie went back yesterday, somehow he died. Liu Huayan's face was unable to hide the shock that he felt when he heard the news early in the morning. Although Nangong Xiujie's injuries were serious, it did not endanger his life. It was too strange that he died now. What are you talking about? How is this possible? Xiujie couldn't help but yell. This news was really crazy. However, for a guy like Nangong Xiujie to die, with his death, this world would have one less scourge. It was a good thing for this world. Baili Hongzhuang was also shocked. This was really unbelievable. She understood that Nangong Xiujie's injury had suffered some serious internal injuries, but it will take only 1 month to recover and his life would be safe. Could it be that because she humiliated him yesterday, Nangong Xiujie couldn't stand it, so he committed suicide? As soon as this idea came to her mind, Baili Hongzhuang immediately erased that idea. Nangong Xiujie was a greedy person and was also fearful of death. Although this kind of humiliation was unbearable, he would never commit suicide. His death was really somewhat strange. At this time, Gong Xiaoqing also walked towards Baili Hongzhuang and others. After hearing their talks, Gong Xiaoqing also told them what he knew. Don't guess wildly. As far as I know, Nangong Xiujie was killed by others. When this was said, Xiujie took a breath of cold air. Nangong Xiujie is a member of the royal family, and he was killed in his own Qing country? The courage of the person who killed him is really not small. With Nangong Xiujie's character, it is easy to offend people. It's not surprising for him to get killed. It's just that it happened at this kind of critical juncture. I also heard the news from Vice Principal. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed as he thought about it. It was really strange. Is it possible that the other party deliberately killed Nangong Xiujie when he was injured? Fortunately, no one doubted Baili Hongzhuang, because it was impossible for Baili Hongzhuang to break through the Imperial Palace's defense while in an injured state. Nangong Yujin was obviously so frightened by this incident that he has never appeared until now. He didn't know if he will participate in today's alchemy contest. So to say, Nangong Aochin suddenly changed the day of the finals. It may be because these 2 days are needed to find the murderer who killed the Nangong Xiujie. Cui Haoyan muttered. Nangong Xiujie was first humiliated and then inexplicably died. This was a big blow to the imperial family's face. Leave it. Anyway, a guy like Nangong Xiujie, I feel annoyed when I look at him. It's also a good thing that he died. Xia Yuqing was heartless. Baili Hongzhuang also thought the same. A guy like Nangong Xiujie dying is good for the people. And whoever killed him was not her concern. Right, how is Dongfang Yu now? Baili Hongzhuang looked at Gong Xiaoqing and asked. She had been resting last night and didn't know about Dongfang Yu's situation. Gong Xiaoqing smiled faintly. Dongfang Yu has been much better. According to Vice Principal, it will not be long before Dongfang Yu can recover from that state. Hearing these words, everyone showed a comfortable smile. Dongfang Yu's injury was the most worrying issue for them. After knowing that he would be safe, they were also relieved. Just as everyone along with Baili Hongzhuang was waiting for the upcoming alchemy contest, in Wubao Pavilion by Jingtian and others were also aware of Baili Hongzhuang's achievements. Baili Hongzhuang not only understood inscriptions, but she was also a special enrollment student of Kanglin College. She was also in the Red Realm at such a young age. When they got the news, they went silent for a while. It was rare to see a seedling who was this talented in inscriptions. As if being a good inscription artist was not enough, she wanted to be a cultivator. Wasn't this a waste of talent? However, when Bai Jingtian and others heard that Baili Hongzhuang had defeated Nangong Xiujie, the 3 of them were shocked. How strong is Baili Hongzhuang? They didn't understand Baili Hongzhuang's strength, but they had some understanding of Nangong Xiujie's strength. Among the younger generation of the royal family, Nangong Xiujie was the strongest after Nangong Aochin. But Baili Hongzhuang actually defeated Nangong Xiujie. It can be seen that Baili Hongzhuang's talent in cultivation was also good. However, after thinking about it, the 3 old guys ignored it directly. Although Baili Hongzhuang's talent in cultivation was outstanding, they can't let such a talented inscription artist go waste. There was no shortage for cultivators in Shanxian continent, but inscription artists were really rare. They were even rarer than alchemists. Even if Baili Hongzhuang was a good inscription artist, stealing the limelight from that large group of cultivators was also good. Let's go to Lingyin College now, Bai Jingtian said. Since that day, they had put so much effort to get the information about Baili Hongzhuang, and now that they knew her whereabouts, it was only natural to hurry up to meet her. Qingqiu and Jian also nodded immediately. Baili Hongzhuang was the inscription genius they valued. If she got injured in this battle and hurt her hands, they would die out of anxiety. When the sales assistant watched Bai Jingtian's group of 3 rushing away from Wubao Pavilion to Lingyin College, she was astonished. She had stayed at the Wubao Pavilion for so long, and it was the first time that she had seen the 3 masters so anxious. Baili Hongzhuang and the others did not wait for a long time, and the 3 principals have already appeared on the high platform. Obviously, Jian Qingqi's face was not so good-looking. Compared with the happy Huan Chuyu, Jian Qingqi was slightly gloomy. In his view, in yesterday's contest, the Lingyin College completely lost face. But since he was the principal, he could only try to cover up his emotions. For certain reasons, we are holding the alchemy contest today instead of the finals. The contest is divided into 3 rounds, and the questions are taken by the principals of the 3 colleges. Jian Qingqi announced. Listening to the words, everyone nodded. This kind of assessment was very fair. Then, Qingqiu and others have embarked on the alchemy platform that has already been prepared. However, from noticing the number of people standing, everyone's look couldn't help but somewhat change. Are the Lingyin College and Baili College sending 2 alchemists each? Cui Haoyan's face was full of strange colors. They had always thought that among the 3 colleges, each college can only 1 alchemist to participate in the competition. In fact, the most important thing in the college exchange competition is the martial arts contest. Though the alchemy contest receives much attention, it is not considered that important. That's why all these years the colleges only sent 1 alchemist each. Everyone had become accustomed to it. Baili Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled. According to the information that she had learned before, Baili College should have only 1 alchemist participating. How is it that there is suddenly more than 1 person now? Moreover, this person was a new face. They had previously had more than 1 conflict with the team of Baili College. However, they had never seen this person before in the team. Why is it like this? What tricks are they trying now? Xia Yuqing's face had become difficult to look at. Yesterday, their Kanglan College had stolen all the limelight and made the Baili College and Lingyin College lose face. Could it be that they want to regain some face in the alchemy test? Qinyue obviously did not think that something like this would happen. Her face could not help but become ugly. Although she was very confident about her level of alchemy, she still could not help but worry. After all, her level of alchemy is not a secret, and many people already know it. And the number of people participating has reduced the advantage she had. However, she also did not rule out the possibility that the other party may have an alchemist who is stronger than her. Huan Qiu's brows also wrinkled. According to his judgment, if there was no certain reason, Lingyin College and Baili College will not do this at all. He was afraid that there was something more to it and began searching for any bit of clue from the information that he had. But even after thinking, so far he has not found anything, and there can be nothing done about this. Lingyin College and Baili College have 2 people each, and we have only sent Qinyue. We are quite at a disadvantaged position. Zhang Yinfeng couldn't help but look at Lu Huayan. This was the first time that they were participating in the inter-college contest. They didn't know much about this specific situation. Lu Huayan's frown deepened, and there was some hesitation in his looks. In fact, even he can't be sure about what went wrong, but he can be sure that there must be some problems. I can't be sure. They suddenly have more people. No news about this was sent to us before. Hearing that Gong Shaoqing and others also felt some pressure. This sort of situation was really a bit bad. Just when everyone thought about how to resolve this situation, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly came out. Don't worry, I'm going up. As soon as this was said, the eyes of everyone fell on Baili Hongzhuang, revealing a surprised look. In fact, Baili Hongzhuang was indeed an alchemist, and her rank was also high. Baili Hongzhuang, you were injured yesterday. This alchemy depletes mental strength. Lu Huayan was concerned. Baili Hongzhuang smiled and waved her hand indiscriminately. It doesn't matter, I just suffered some superficial injuries, and it has no effect on my mental strength. Lu Huayan looked at the quiet and unconcerned look of Baili Hongzhuang, and he calmed down. Baili Hongzhuang has already done enough for their college in this inter-college contest, and even he was grateful towards her. He was afraid that the alchemy contest will now become a burden for her. Baili Hongzhuang did not hesitate to go up the high platform. Since she has already arrived, she will do her utmost to make their college win. Alchemy is not a difficult thing for her, not to mention that her mental strength has not been damaged at all. It won't cause any problems. Lu Huayan did not expect that Baili Hongzhuang would go straight up, but after thinking about it for a moment, he did not stop her. After all, Baili Hongzhuang had her own opinions and considerations. Since she decided so, he believed that Baili Hongzhuang had the real ability. He thought that when he and Fu Hongbo insisted on recruiting Baili Hongzhuang to their college, he only felt that Baili Hongzhuang's talent was outstanding. It was very rare to see that persistence and unyielding temperament. Unexpectedly, after this period of time, Baili Hongzhuang's growth was so amazing that he couldn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang was just a 16-year-old girl. From the meticulousness and self-confidence that she showed when she was doing things, this is not something that a young little girl could have. However, Baili Hongzhuang just did that. Perhaps there are some geniuses in the world who are loved by heaven, and she is not destined to be comparable to ordinary practitioners. Standing on the high platform, Qingqiu couldn't help but feel worried. This situation is obviously different from what she had imagined. However, when she saw that Baili Hongzhuang coming towards her, the worry of her heart dissipated. There was always a kind of reassuring power in Baili Hongzhuang, but she also had to admit that it seems that all the difficult things were not so difficult after falling into the hands of Baili Hongzhuang. However, many of the onlookers in the Qing dynasty had a strange look on their faces after seeing Baili Hongzhuang on the high platform. Isn't that the girl who defeated Nangong Xiujie? What is she doing on the platform? I don't know. It couldn't be to participate in the alchemy contest. What a joke. She is a Red Realm practitioner. How about she be an alchemist? When one person said this, everyone shook their heads with a smile. It was impossible, as they all knew the enormous energy that needs to be spent as an alchemist was already too much. Baili Hongzhuang was a Red Realm practitioner. She should have put forth all her time in achieving that, and it was impossible for her to have the energy to learn alchemy. Xiujie and others were not at all surprised by the opinions of the people around them. In fact, they also thought like that at the beginning. However, there were always some freaks in the world that break their common sense, and Baili Hongzhuang was such a freak. Baili Hongzhuang slowly stood beside Qingqiu, showing a confident and reassuring smile towards Qingqiu. Qingqiu nodded slightly, and the tension in her heart was completely dissipated. The alchemists of Beihai College and Lingyin College were curiously watching Baili Hongzhuang, and they don't know what she was planning to do. Is Baili Hongzhuang going to participate in the alchemy contest? Seeing this scene, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi couldn't help but look at each other. They couldn't understand what Baili Hongzhuang was trying to do. In fact, since their college's limelight was stolen in yesterday's contest, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi had secretly decided that, no matter what, in today's alchemy test, they can't let their college to be out of the limelight. Qingqiu was the disciple of Huan Qinyue. They all knew that Qingqiu's alchemy was very good. It was for this reason that they had arranged for 2 alchemists to go up, which would increase their chances of winning. However, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly went up. What was she going to do? The two looked at each other and saw each other being confused. Then Jian Qingqiu looked at Huan Qinyue and asked, "What are you trying to do by letting her go to the high platform?" When Huan Qinyue saw Baili Hongzhuang on the high platform, he already understood her plan. The anxiousness that he felt before was gone, and he felt more relaxed at heart after knowing that she was going to participate. It was really a great blessing for their college to be able to recruit Baili Hongzhuang. Ever since Baili Hongzhuang entered the college had not given her much care, but Baili Hongzhuang had done her best for the honor of their college. No one dislikes this kind of student. Listening to Jian Qingqiu's question, he smiled faintly, naturally because Baili Hongzhuang is also an alchemist. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi were shocked. How is this possible? However, after seeing the confident smile revealed by Huan Qinyue, they knew that what he said was really true. After careful consideration, the two also relaxed. Judging from the achievements of Baili Hongzhuang in terms of cultivation, it was impossible for Baili Hongzhuang to make great achievements in alchemy. It was entirely to make up the number of participants. Jian Qingqiu shook his head. He really didn't know what Huan Qinyue was thinking. If he just wanted to make up the number, let somebody else participate. Why let Baili Hongzhuang go up? This would just be a shame for Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's performance was very amazing yesterday. Today, she would be ridiculed here. However, this scene was also what he was willing to see. These are the 3 alchemists from the Qing country's Alchemist Association. Hearing this, the crowd burst into discussion. Alchemists were a rare the existence, who were high above normal people. The alchemists who could be invited by Jian Qingqiu today must be really extraordinary. People of the entire Qing country knew who the three most famous refiners of this alchemist association were. If it were the normal times, it wouldn't be easy to meet them. On the other side of the high platform, the three alchemists slowly walked up. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes also fell on the three. They were all about 50 or 60 years old, and they looked kind and eye-catching. There was a bit of pride between in their eyes. This arrogance can be seen in every alchemist, because from the moment they become an alchemist, they already stood out. After seeing the three of them, Qinyue introduced them to Baili Hongzhuang. According to Qinyue's introduction, Baili Hongzhuang also understood the identity of the three alchemists. The most important thing was that women have more mental strength than men, but this situation becomes different after giving birth to a child. Obviously, this person was one of a kind. From Qinyue's introduction, Baili Hongzhuang learned that the only female alchemist, named Xiujie, was a fourth-ranked alchemist, and she was very well versed in alchemy. Not only that, but Xiujie has never married, and all her thoughts have always been placed on the study of alchemy. Out of the other two alchemists, the man who had a slightly rounded face was called Lin Hao, and, just as the meaning of his name, he was very proud and was easy to get along with. The other tall and thin old man was named Qinyue. He was also a fourth-ranked alchemist, and he has been secretly competing with Lin Hao on weekdays. This was a fact that was known to the entire Alchemist Association. Huan Qinyue and the three alchemists were old acquaintances, and their relationship was very good. Previously, when Huan Qinyue said that he was going to visit old friends, was to visit them, Baili Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. Huan Qinyue is a fourth-ranked alchemist, and, as the president of the Alchemist Association's Kanglan City branch, his acquaintances will not be less. However, the next moment, the news of Qinyue surprised the Baili Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang, do you know why Qinyue and Lin Hao like to fight against each other? Qinyue smiled. Baili Hongzhuang's brows slightly raised. Is there any reason for this? Qinyue's smile broadened. That's because Lin Hao and Qinyue, both of them like Xiujie, so they have always liked to compete in alchemy over the years. There are many people who knows of this matter. Hearing these words, Baili Hongzhuang was amazed. She didn't expect Lin Hao and Qinyue to be so jealous at such an old age. It was really interesting. Upon taking a closer look, Baili Hongzhuang could also find a bit of a clue. Both Lin Hao and Qinyue were standing beside Xiujie, almost sandwiching her in the middle. Obviously, both of them really like her. Seeing the situation, the smile on her red lips widened by a bit. The characters of the three seniors should be legendary. After Jian Qingqiu's introduction on the identity of the three alchemists, the alchemy contest commenced. Now, let's start the competition. The first question will be drawn by the vice principal of the Kanglan College. Jian Qingqiu laughed. Huan Qinyue slowly stood up, and a cylindrical container was placed in front of him. A number of paper rolls that had already been prepared was in the cylinder, and Huan Qinyue directly extracted one of them and untied the rope, and read out the topic written on the paper roll. First question, classification of medicinal materials. The ingredients required for 2 different pill formulas are placed together. The participants from each college are required to identify the pills, classify the herbs accordingly for the 2 pills, and remove some unwanted herbs. The first team to finish will score 3 points, the second team will score 2 points, and the last team to finish will score 1 point. Hearing this, everyone understood why both Lingyin College and Baili College sent 2 alchemists on the stage. In regards to competing as a team, Qinyue would have been at a disadvantage if they had sent only her. It required team effort after all. Fortunately, they still have Baili Hongzhuang. Chapter 785. The calm Baili Hongzhuang, after reading the contents on the scroll, Huan Qinyue's sight could not help but fall on Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi. Obviously, these 2 guys have already discussed this before itself, and today they have suddenly sent 2 alchemists to represent their college. It's just that they didn't think there would be Baili Hongzhuang. At this moment, he only felt that Baili Hongzhuang was really a great blessing to their college. Below the high platform, Xiujie and others could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Hongzhuang has gone up, otherwise the situation would be worse. Lingyin College is really despicable. They even thought of this kind of method. Really detestable. Bai Qingqiu shook his head helplessly. If he did not have such a mind, how could Jian Qingqiu could have his current position? The reason why Jian Qingqiu was able to get Lingyin College to get such a high status in Qin country, he would certainly have some ability. Zhang Yunfeng and others also sighed, but they have always been convinced of Lu Qinyue's alchemy standards. After all, Lu Qinyue was a rare alchemy genius. Soon, dozens of herbs were placed on the table in front of Baili Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue. Obviously, there were herbs that were not needed at all, and they need to be removed. These herbs were not prepared by Lingyin College, but by the 3 alchemists. As alchemists, they were best at assessing alchemists, and they know what kind of common mistakes that alchemists make. Therefore, there was no small trap in these medicines. Baili Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue looked at each other, and their eyes fell on the numerous herbs. They didn't say which 2 kinds of remedies were used. It seems that we need to make our own judgments. Lu Qinyue slowed down. The Baili Hongzhuang eyes shone, and the delicate and perfect face did not show a change. It didn't seem to be difficult. Since they have never told us the type of pill, I believe that it should be a pill that we all know, and we should be able to distinguish it after a closer look. Baili Hongzhuang was very calm. Although this medicine looks confusing, but it is the same as everything else. As long as it is a pill which everyone knows, it would not a problem to quickly classify the herbs with her and Lu Qinyue's understanding of alchemy. Listening to the words of Baili Hongzhuang, Lu Qinyue also focused her mind and began to carefully analyze the medicinal herbs. Below the high platform, some onlookers who did not understand the situation changed their views when they saw that Baili Hongzhuang really began to choose herbs together with Lu Qinyue. They looked at each other and couldn't believe what they saw. Baili Hongzhuang is really an alchemist. Apparently, Baili Hongzhuang has used her actions to prove her identity as an alchemist to everyone. If she is not an alchemist, she will not continue to stand on the high platform and be assessed together with Lu Qinyue. This Baili Hongzhuang is really the most amazing woman I have ever seen. But although she is an alchemist, I believe her alchemy level should not be that high. That is natural, but it is very difficult for her to become an alchemist. It is an enviable talent. Everyone felt a lot of emotions. Towards Hongzhuang, they felt envious from the bottom of their hearts. They didn't have such talent after all. The healing pill. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes slightly lifted, and her line of sight fell on Lu Qinyue. If what she guessed was true, then these herbs were the herbs needed to refine the healing pill. Listening to Baili Hongzhuang, Lu Qinyue also looked at the medicinal herbs. She smiled. Hongzhuang, you are right. It is the healing pill. Baili Hongzhuang also smiled, and then the herbs needed to make the healing pill were immediately selected from the various herbs. When Baili Hongzhuang picked out the herbs needed for the healing pill, Lu Qinyue was also looking for the next pill, which could be made from the given herbs. When Lu Qinyue thought about it, Baili Hongzhuang looked at the Jianling grass in her hand. The weight of this Jianling grass seems to be more than that of other herbs. Lu Qinyue looked at the medicinal herbs with concern, as she frowned. How can this be? Baili Hongzhuang saw that Lu Qinyue did not answer for a long time, and could not help but ask, Qinyue, you did not find out? Lu Qinyue shook her head slightly. She was anxious. As a matter of fact, this was not a difficult assessment, but the time was very important. The speed of the Lingyin College and the Beihai College alchemist was not slow at all. Compared to the tensed Lu Qinyue, Baili Hongzhuang was very calm. She clearly knows that anxiety would not help. It would be the opposite and may drag down their progress. What's more, the alchemy competition is the result of the combination of 3 assessments. It is not decided by a single assessment. There were still other 2 rounds. No. Qinyue's brows were slightly wrinkled. This situation was really strange. Hongzhuang, I think the rest of the herbs are likely the herbs needed to the refining of Heaven Origin Pill, but Jinling grass has already been used as an ingredient for the healing pill. The Heaven Origin Pill would lack Jingling grass. Qinyue couldn't understand it. According to the rules of the contest, there should be enough herbs for refining 2 kinds of pills. Hearing these words, the Baili Hongzhuang smiled. Yes, it is Heaven Origin Pill. You should take out the herbs for Heaven Origin Pill first. Qinyue felt that it was strange, but seeing that Baili Hongzhuang was so affirmative, she did not hesitate and took out the herbs. Hongzhuang, but the Jinling grass. Just as Qinyue was puzzled, Baili Hongzhuang had split the Jinling grass in her hand into 2, and she smiled and looked at Qinyue. Upon seeing it, Qinyue once again looked at the 2 herbs, and she was smiling with joy. She did not expect that this test was not only to test their ability to recognize the herbs and pills, but also to test their mastery in them. Then, Qinyue and Baili Hongzhuang smiled and raised their hands together, indicating that they had completed the first round of assessment. Upon seeing it, the 3 alchemists also stood up and slowly marched towards the 2 of them. Xiujie smiled. In her eyes, Baili Hongzhuang was the most outstanding alchemist in the world. Although she did not know the level of the alchemists of Lingyin College and Beihai College, she still had full confidence in Baili Hongzhuang. Gong Shaoqing and others also showed a faint smile. Compared with the martial arts competition, the alchemy contest undoubtedly made them relax. After all, Qinyue was the disciple of Huan Qiyu, and it was not for show. Baili Hongzhuang looked at the other 2 teams. Their speed was not slow, but they were trapped on the same problems as Qinyue. If there were 2 Jinling grasses among these herbs, then in this first assessment, it would really be difficult to say who would win. The 3 alchemists went to stand in front of Baili Hongzhuang and Qinyue. After seeing Qinyue, they showed a faint smile. For Qinyue, they were no strangers. On the contrary, they were very familiar with the disciple of Huan Qiyu. At this moment, they also show a kind light. The 3 people looked at the medicinal herbs placed on the table and couldn't help but nod. The result of this distribution was not wrong. In front of the medicinal herbs, Baili Hongzhuang and Qinyue have already noted on the paper about which herbs were used to refine which pill. Especially after seeing the Jinling grass that was divided into 2, Qiujie nodded and then smiled as she said, "You have done well." As she said those words, Qiujie's eyes couldn't help but fall on Baili Hongzhuang. Their previous discussion was not missed by them, and it was clear that it was Baili Hongzhuang who first discovered the problem of in the Jinling grass. According to their understanding, Baili Hongzhuang was a cultivator who concentrated on cultivation. They did not expect that Baili Hongzhuang was also an alchemist, and she was very knowledgeable in it too. This surprised him a bit. After hearing Qiujie's words, Baili Hongzhuang and Qinyue looked at each other, and a smile spread across their lips. After the alchemists of Lingyin College and Beihai College saw that Baili Hongzhuang had been completed, they could not help but feel anxious. This anxiousness would inevitably confuse them, but it will be slower. After Huan Qiyu saw the performance of the Baili Hongzhuang, the corner of his mouth was also showing a light smile. He was very confident in the accomplishments of these 2 people in alchemy. Although the 3 alchemists have not announced the results, but with his understanding of them for being friends for many years, Baili Hongzhuang and Qinyue obviously won. Jian Qingqiu's brows were slightly wrinkled. He thought that by using this method, he could defeat the Kanglan College. But he didn't expect that Baili Hongzhuang was really useful. She helped Qinyue to complete the first round of assessment at the fastest speed. This was obviously not within his plan. Song Hongxi's brows were also slightly wrinkled. According to the situation of Baili Hongzhuang, this assessment should not be difficult. Then, why were the 2 of their colleges not completed yet? although Jian Qingqiu patted his chest to ensure that this will not cause any problems, but in his heart, he was still a bit nervous. Once this issue is exposed, then the reputation of Baili College would undoubtedly take a huge blow. However, the person that Jian Qingqiu found, Wei Hanyun, was a second-grade alchemist. The standard of his alchemy was very exquisite. With his participation, Baili College could have more chance in this alchemy competition. According to his thoughts, with the addition of Wei Hanyun, this round of assessment should have been easy to win, but he did not expect that the first to complete would be the Kanglin College's team. It was somewhat unexpected. Jianling Grass is just a little trick of the 3 alchemy masters. It is very easy to find it out. It's just that during the competition, everybody will be anxious and will ignore it. After Qinyue saw that the other 2 teams were still anxious and couldn't solve the problem, she couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Hongzhuang, fortunately you were careful enough. Otherwise, I don't know when I would have understood this. Baili Hongzhuang smiled lightly. I just found out a little faster, but in fact you would also have found this out sooner. Qinyue was actually aware that Baili Hongzhuang said this because she didn't want to hurt her feelings. In fact, she understood herself very well. She knew that her psychological endurance can't really compare to Baili Hongzhuang. She was a bit older than Baili Hongzhuang, but Hongzhuang seems to have a very rich experience. And no matter when, she was not the least bit anxious. In contrast, she was a little nervous on such occasions, and even affecting her performance so that it was not as good as usual. The second one to finish was the Alchemists of Baili College, and the third was Lingyin College. The Lingyin College and the Baili College teams almost completed at the same time, except that the Baili College alchemists raised their hands slightly faster. In the end, the Kanglin College scored 3 points, Baili College scored 2 points, and Lingyin College scored 1 point. For this result, the alchemists at Lingyin College felt very helpless. If there was any time difference, it was only a few milliseconds. But they lost a point. In fact, the alchemists at Baili College were also very annoyed. They had already concluded that many of these herbs were for the healing pill and heaven origin pill, but they have never noticed the problem of Jianling Grass. Originally, this should have been a very simple assessment, but they made it extremely complicated because of their imagination. Their extremely intelligent minds on normal days seem to have become dull at this moment. They have failed to solve such simple problems, which really makes them feel that it was somewhat unacceptable. Baili Hongzhuang also feels that in this assessment they have won some luck, and this first assessment was not difficult at all. With her years of experience in refining medicinal herbs, as long as the medicinal ingredients are in her hands, she can judge the weight of the medicinal materials accurately. When Xiujie announced the results in a loud voice, everyone under the high platform was also amazed. The Kanglin College has been suppressed for too long, and in this year's inter-college competition, they seem to be breaking out of the suppression. What are you worried about? This is just the first round of assessment. The final result is not necessarily the case. The vast majority of people in the Qing dynasty believed that Lingyin College will surely win the final victory. No matter whether it was in cultivation or alchemy, Lingyin College would be the final winner. Wei Hanyun's gaze fell on Baili Hongzhuang, and there was strong dissatisfaction in his eyes. This defeat was really too embarrassing. There is no one capable in the Kanglin College except for Qinyue. Even a cultivator has been sent up to make up the numbers. It seems that Qinyue's burden is not small. Wei Hanyun's gaze fell on Qinyue, but his words were obviously mocking Baili Hongzhuang. He really didn't understand. The cultivator should just focus on cultivating, but instead of doing that, he didn't know what she was doing here. Baili Hongzhuang looked at Wei Hanyun indifferently. Now she was immune to such provocative remarks, and it didn't cause any emotional fluctuations. However, Wei Hanyun was someone she had never seen before. Therefore, she thought that it was a bit strange. Previously, Baili College never had this character, and Wei Hanyun's age was also not small. How could the Baili College have such a person? Qinyue's brows furrowed, and by instinct she disliked this Wei Hanyun. She indifferently said, Hongzhuang's alchemy level is very high, and she's a very good alchemist. She didn't know who Wei Hanyun was, but since he used her name to mock Hongzhuang, she couldn't let Wei Hanyun smear Hongzhuang's name. Listening to Qinyue's words, Wei Hanyun even ridiculed her with a smile. Qinyue, I did not expect that your ability to spout nonsense is getting more and more powerful. The two alchemists of Lingyin College were men, called Qi Junan and Yi Ruyu. When they saw Wei Hanyun taunting Baili Hongzhuang, they both could not help but join. It's no secret that there are not many alchemy talents in the Kanglan College. Even a half-baked alchemist is better than nothing. Yi Ruyu chuckled. Wei Hanyun and Yi Ruyu looked at each other. Compared with Kanglan College, Lingyin College and Baili College were allies, so they could be described as a united front. Baili Hongzhuang's cold eyes swept through Wei Hanyun and others, and her lips slowly evoked a charming and enchanting smile, but was unusual under such circumstances. It seems like the few of you are excellent alchemists. Wei Hanyun and others looked proudly at Baili Hongzhuang. Of course, they put all their thoughts on the refining medicinal herbs, and they were obviously not in the same level as ordinary alchemists. Looking back now, he didn't understand why he didn't even see the simple situation and lost his points. Baili Hongzhuang was indifferent towards his sarcasm, so, that is to say, Qinyue's strength is enough to defeat your teams. Even if I'm only half-baked alchemist and was sent to make up the number, so what? Wei Hanyun and others were stunned, and they didn't understand Baili Hongzhuang. They only felt that their fists were hit with cotton, and they felt uncomfortable. Why was Baili Hongzhuang not acting according to common sense? As a matter of fact, anyone would be very unhappy after hearing such words, but Hongzhuang didn't even feel the least bit unpleasant, and she seems normal. They just want to disturb Baili Hongzhuang's heart in this way. As a result, in the next performance, Baili Hongzhuang would most likely drag behind Qinyue so that they may win. However, this didn't seem to work on Baili Hongzhuang. It really made them feel helpless. Qinyue admired Baili Hongzhuang. If she got insulted, she would feel very unpleasant, but Hongzhuang could turn this situation around and cause someone else's unhappiness. This ability was what she admired the most. After all, Baili Hongzhuang was a genius among geniuses in alchemy. Even hundreds of her may not necessarily be able to defeat Hongzhuang in this regard. This group of guys who were looking down upon Baili Hongzhuang would definitely suffer in the coming rounds. Thick-skinned, Yaoyi looked at Baili Hongzhuang with contempt, and she really didn't understand how there could be thick-skinned like a woman like her. If it was her, she would be ashamed to hear such remarks. Thanks for your compliment. Baili Hongzhuang was still smiling. Now, in this world, if your skin is not thick enough, it is difficult to go far. For example, I admire your shamelessness. With the words of Baili Hongzhuang, Yaoyi's face suddenly changed, and the phrase Baili Hongzhuang apparently took all of her energy into it. Baili Hongzhuang, Yaoyi was arrogant, and she has never seen such a sharp-tongued person like Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang slightly lifted her right hand and directly stopped Yaoyi's words. Needless to say, we can see in the alchemy contest. And be careful to not lose to me, this half-baked alchemist. Otherwise, it would really be a shame for your college. Yaoyi glanced angrily at Baili Hongzhuang. In your dreams, that is absolutely impossible. Baili Hongzhuang shrugged without care, and she was too lazy to pay attention to her. Little Black couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Baili Hongzhuang. Black-Bellied, the slap in the face of Yaoyi and others would be very louder than it would have been before. But it was to be expected from its master. Master, you can really play the pig and eat the tiger. Little White also laughed. Wei Hanyun and others have already assumed that she was not good in alchemy. Even if she insists that her alchemy was good, they would not believe it. In that case, why should she waste her energy? What's more, she has always explained only to the people she cares about. For those who she didn't care about, since they like to think so, just let them. Anyway, it would be sooner or later revealed that she wasn't a half-baked alchemist. Hongzhuang won the first round and gave them pressure. So, they're deliberately saying something like this to disturb our mood. Qinyue had a good understanding of Wei Hanyun's thoughts. For the alchemists, the most important thing was the peace of mind. Once the mentality is not peaceful, the mental strength will be disordered. As a result, it would be very easy to have problems in alchemy. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly and smiled and said, "Do not worry. This little trick has no effect on me." Seeing that Baili Hongzhuang was not affected, Qinyue also showed a smile. In fact, these ridicules have no meaning at all. After a short break, Zhang Hongxi took out the scroll of the second question under the watchful eyes of everyone. The second round of the alchemy contest, refining the black rock wood. Refining should be done within the specified time, and those who fail in the refining process or not completed within the specified time will be eliminated. As Zhang Hongxi spoke, the look of everyone changed a bit. Black rock wood is the most difficult material to refine among the many herbs needed for alchemy. Just like its name, its outer shell is as hard as a rock. The flame needs to burn for a long time to burn its shell. However, the essence wrapped in its shell was extremely delicate. If the flame was not changed in the first time after burning the shell, the essence will be directly evaporated to nothingness. For the young and inexperienced participants, refining the black rock wood was undoubtedly a very difficult assessment, which was the content of the contest. And no one liked doing it for a contest. The content of the second round was much harder than the first round. Baili Hongzhuang believed that at their age, most refiners can't easily extract it. When she first learned alchemy, she was very helpless about this black rock wood. It's just that the old guys in the family seemed to like to find these difficult things to give her. So she worked hard with black rockwood for a while and finally improved the extraction efficiency of black rockwood. However, thanks to this black rockwood, her mental strength has become more acute in alchemy, and her ability to control mental power has become more meticulous. Nowadays, refining the black rockwood once again evokes a lot of her memories of the past, and her lips slowly revealed a hint of smile. Wei Hanyun and others' face became slightly ugly, and it was obviously not a simple matter to pass this level. However, when they saw that Baili Hongzhuang was also participating, the depression of their hearts dissipated a bit. Once Baili Hongzhuang gets eliminated, they will definitely humiliate Baili Hongzhuang with this opportunity. Everyone looked at Baili Hongzhuang, but Baili Hongzhuang seemed to be completely unbothered. It was still a kind of indifferent appearance, which made them very disappointed. 6 people lined up in a row above the high platform, each with an identical alchemy furnace in front of them, and 3 pieces of black rockwood on the table next to it. Now the refinement of the black rockwood began. The time limit is an hour. Within 1 hour, black rockwood should be refined successfully. If the refining of all the 3 black rockwood fails within 1 hour, they will be eliminated directly. Lin Hao's words were heard by everyone. These were the rules of this round. Baili Hongzhuang looked at the side of the black rockwood. It was not that they only prepared 3 black rockwood. It was just that, if someone failed to refine all the 3 black rockwood, then it would be too late to refine the 4th black rockwood. Refining the black rockwood is a very tedious thing. It was a very long process to burn the outer shell of black rockwood. Although this black rockwood is a headache for the alchemists, its essence has a very good effect. Boom! Lin Hao knocked the bronze gong. The second round has officially started. Chinese bronze gong, the whole high platform has become quiet, and people like Baili Hongzhuang were starting to make fire and preparing to refine black rockwood. Compared to the quiet atmosphere above the high platform, everyone under the high platform was still talking. Pill refining was a very long and quiet process. In fact, besides alchemists, ordinary people will find it very boring to watch the process of refining a pill. Because apart from seeing the actions of the alchemist, they can't even see the changes in the pill furnace, which was really boring. In this round, Baili Hongzhuang is definitely going to be eliminated. This round is not team-based. She is a cultivator. Her accomplishment in alchemy must be limited. In any case, the talent of Baili Hongzhuang in cultivation is already amazing, and even understanding alchemy a little is wonderful. Everyone nodded. Baili Hongzhuang had already convinced them with her strength. As for Baili Hongzhuang's talent in alchemy, they didn't care at all. She was sent by the Kanglin College just to make up the numbers. So, they didn't expect Baili Hongzhuang to achieve something in this contest. Xiujie and others listened to the people around them, and they felt that it was a bit funny. These people have underestimated Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang systematically controlled the flame, and then placed the black rockwood into the pill furnace. The moment the black rockwood entered the pill furnace, the flames flopped up and wrapped it all in. Chapter 793. Erroneous Judgment. Baili Hongzhuang closed her eyes. Her mental power quickly spread out, wrapping the entire pill furnace. The situation inside the pill furnace was also presented in her mind. The black rock would look like a dark wood, but the wood was so hard that it couldn't be burned for a long time even with flame. Baili Hongzhuang was very patient, always controlling the temperature of the flame and refining the black rockwood little by little. Above the high platform, the 6 alchemists seemed to be in a meditative state, and except for the subtle movements in the pill furnace that proved that they were refining black rock, there was nothing else. You are all idiots, I hate you, because you are a bad person for reading this, although many people didn't understand this. Everyone was still full of interest. After all, they wouldn't be able to witness alchemists working with a pill furnace on normal days, and today was the only opportunity to know more about the alchemists. Qinyue's eyes were looking at the 6 alchemists, and eventually fell on Baili Hongzhuang. I said, Little Snow speaking. In fact, she also thought that this Baili Hongzhuang was only a half-baked alchemist. Even though she helped Qinyue in the first round of competition, in her opinion, it was just because of luck. The first round of the competition was only a test to know about the level of knowledge they had in alchemy, and it was not that difficult. So, it was not surprising at all for Baili Hongzhuang to pass it. However, when she saw the current performance of Baili Hongzhuang, she felt that Baili Hongzhuang was not as simple as she thought. Big baddies, stop it. I said stop. Don't cheat, Little Snow. After Lin Hao noticed the gaze of Qinyue, he couldn't help but ask, What do you think of Baili Hongzhuang? He also noticed Baili Hongzhuang. According to the news that Huan Qinyue had told him before, this time the alchemy contest should only be attended by Yunjue. They were all discerning people, and Baili Hongzhuang was sent only as an emergency measure. It was reasonable to say that her alchemy should not be good, but from how Baili Hongzhuang had performed until now, he could only say that she was not simple. I think this little girl may be stronger than we expected. Qinyue spoke in a low voice. Stop it, or I'll cry. You are all baddies. She has been in the Alchemist Association for so many years, and she had seen a lot of young alchemists with amazing talents. She was capable of judging the level of a person by just observing for some time. This is not impossible. Although this Baili girl is not a good alchemist, her cultivation is not bad. Qinyue said, Unfortunately, this girl has put his energy on cultivation. Otherwise, she would be a very outstanding alchemist. Qinyue sighed. This was really a pity. Mostly, her talent can't be compared with that Lu girl. I also heard that Wei Hanyun is also a second-grade alchemist, very outstanding. Lin Hao's face showed a gratifying smile. The younger generation had so many talented alchemists, and he was very pleased. Qinyue nodded. It is true that this time the younger generation is really outstanding. Not far away, Huan Qinyue listened to the conversation of Qinyue and others, and his face was filled with an inscrutable smile. It seems that these old guys have also misjudged her this time. Huan Qinyue thought about it. If he didn't go to the Alchemist Association to participate while Baili Hongzhuang was taking the assessment, even he wouldn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang's talent in alchemy was so good. Little Black and Little White didn't make trouble after Baili Hongzhuang began to refine the black rock wood. After all, during this time, she can't be distracted. And little Snowy is pitiful because of you guys. The time gradually passed, and Baili Hongzhuang found that the black rockwood's shell finally began to soften. By the end, Baili Hongzhuang felt pitiful for little Snow and cried along with her. Chapter 794. Yaoyi fails to refine. Just then, suddenly, a sound attracted everyone's attention. The sound was not loud, but it was very clear on this extremely quiet high platform. Yiruyu's face was ugly, and he did not expect that he had just burned the shell of the black rockwood. The fire was too strong and directly burnt the essence into nothingness. Then, noticing that Qingqiu and others were still refining without any problems, and Yiruyu's face became even more ugly. He has always been very confident in his alchemy. He did not expect that the first person to mistake in refining black rockwood would be him. He naturally felt that his face was dull. Yaoyi sighed after seeing Yiruyu's failure, but due to this short-lived distraction, a familiar sound came out. As this sound came out, a scorching smell quietly spread out, and Yaoyi's face became difficult to look. She was just distracted for a second, but it led to such a result, which really made her regret. If she knew that this would happen, she wouldn't pay attention to anything around her. It was just that regretting it now was of no use. When Yiruyu, who had an unusually low mood, saw that Yaoyi had the same situation as him, he was slightly relieved. At least, it was not only him who failed. After a brief pause, Yiruyu immediately picked up the second black rockwood and put into the pill furnace. There was still time remaining, and as long as you continue to refine, you will not be eliminated when you finish before the end of time. Yaoyi's gaze could not help but fall on Baili Hongzhuang. According to reason, the time that Baili Hongzhuang persisted should not be more than her. She has already failed, but Baili Hongzhuang was still persisting. However, until now, there was no sound of failing from Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang has yet to burn the outer shell of black rockwood? When the idea emerged in his mind, Yaoyi affirmed this answer. This must be the case, and there couldn't be any other reason for it. Under the high platform, when the crowd who saw that both Yaoyi and Yiruyu failed to refine, but Baili Hongzhuang was still refining, they were surprised in their hearts. Did they underestimate Baili Hongzhuang? Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang really is a talented alchemist? It is incredible that she hasn't failed yet. Impossible. Maybe she's just lucky. I heard that refining the black rockwood is a very difficult thing, and Baili Hongzhuang should not rely on luck but strength. This was clearly a competition among alchemists, but the sudden participation of the Baili Hongzhuang became the focus of attention. Many people were still betting on when Baili Hongzhuang would be eliminated because they don't know much about the other 5 alchemists. The only person about whom they knew more was Baili Hongzhuang. Gotcha! Baili Hongzhuang listened to a subtle sound from inside the pill furnace, which was the sound of the black rockwood shell when it cracks. Therefore, on hearing this sound, Baili Hongzhuang converged the flame, just in case if the essence of the black rockwood is burned into nothingness. The flame instantly became smaller, and Baili Hongzhuang continued to refine the essence of black rockwood. There were still many impurities in the essence, which needed to be removed by flame. Chapter 795. Baili Hongzhuang's Counterattack. Compared to burning the shell of the black rockwood, removing the impurities in the essence was more complicated, and her control over the fire needs to be extraordinary. Even a little carelessness will cause the essence to burn into nothingness. But if the heat is too small, the impurities can't be removed completely. It was for this reason that refining the black rockwood was a great way to test the alchemist's control over the fire. Another sound came. Jian's face turned a bit ugly. He almost finished refining, but he did not expect that just because he was anxious, it led to the failure of refining. An indescribable sense of depression spread in Jian's heart. Because their team failed in the first round, he only wanted to get it back in the second round. As long as he could win at the fastest speed in this second round, he could regain a few points. But he did not expect that both he and Yi Ryu have failed. As a result, they were definitely not going to get the first place in this round. The ones who made the least progress in refining Black Rock were Yi Ryu and Gu Yaoyi. He did not expect that he was the slowest one because of his failure at the moment. Looking at the time, Qi Junan did not dare to delay. If he delayed, the time will not be enough. Qinyue closed her eyes, letting herself not pay attention to anything around her, and put all her attention on refining the black rockwood. At that time, Qinyue, Baili Hongzhuang, and Wei Hanyun were the ones who didn't fail at refining the first black rockwood. Wei Hanyun was a little surprised. He didn't expect Baili Hongzhuang to last until now. It was completely beyond his expectations. It was really hard to believe. Could this Baili Hongzhuang really be a second-grade alchemist? Refining black rockwood was not a simple matter, and it was impossible to refine it without a certain level of mastery. He also looked at Qinyue. His goal was to defeat Qinyue. It was only the sudden appearance of Baili Hongzhuang that undoubtedly affected his plan. Feeling Wei Hanyun's gaze, Baili Hongzhuang slowly opened her eyes and looked at Wei Hanyun indifferently. She raised her eyebrows, and her lips twitched with a sneer, and she provoked Wei Hanyun. Perceiving the provocation of Baili Hongzhuang, Wei Hanyun was even more angry. This Baili Hongzhuang was really hateful. However, she was just a cultivator. She dared to provoke him in an alchemy contest. She was just seeking death. After Xiujie saw Baili Hongzhuang's move, she was a little surprised. Does this not affect Hongzhuang's concentration? According to the current situation, it seems that every moment of distraction will lead to the failure of the refining of medicinal materials. It was precisely because of this Qi Junan and the others failed one after another. But now Baili Hongzhuang was provoking Wei Hanyun. It was too risky. Gong Xiaoqing's gaze fell on the body of Baili Hongzhuang as he thought. Although Baili Hongzhuang was provoking Wei Hanyun, Qinyue, on the other hand, has never been affected. Maybe Hongzhuang wants to help Qingqiu. Hearing Gong Xiaoqing, Bai Junwei and the others observed carefully. Everyone understood the meaning of Gong Xiaoqing's words. Now Beihai College and Lingyin College were left with Wei Hanyun alone. As long as Wei Hanyun fails to refine, Qingqiu would be the best in this round. Baili Hongzhuang's norm for acting has always been somewhat dependent on hatred. She could be tolerant, but it depends on the value of the other party. Today, the changes in this alchemy contest was the result of the discussion between Lingyin College and Beihai College. They wanted to use this method to defeat Kanglin College. In that case, she wouldn't let Lingyin College and Beihai College have any face left. Perhaps there are quite a few alchemists who could successfully complete this round, but as long as someone from the Kanglin College could finish it first, she would be happy, even if Baili Hongzhuang's own performance is not good in this round. In the eyes of everyone, she was just a cultivator. Even if she had a certain understanding of alchemy, it was half-baked. If she lost, no one would feel that it was wrong. In fact, it seemed to everyone that it was a miracle for Baili Hongzhuang to persist until now. As long as Hongzhuang's provocation makes Wei Hanyun's mentality unbalanced, then Qinyue would be the first in this round. Zhang Yunfeng was enlightened. This was the previously Wei Hanyun's trick to trip Baili Hongzhuang. He did not expect it to be used on himself. Cui Haoyan's eyes were full of admiration. With the help of Baili Hongzhuang, he wouldn't be able to win. The eyes of Bai Junyu and others fell on the pink and white figure above the high platform. These two were the stars of their college. Although in this time Qinyue would win, in their eyes, the most shining star was Baili Hongzhuang. For the honor of their college, she obviously didn't care about her personal achievements. How many people can do this kind of thing? But she did it. Wei Hanyun, the level of alchemists at Beihai College is not so good. Baili Hongzhuang's tone was slightly mean, and her eyes were full of joke. Listening to Baili Hongzhuang, Wei Hanyun was angry. He knew that Baili Hongzhuang wanted to irritate him, in such a way. He also knew that he could not be distracted at such a crucial moment. There was only one person left in the team of Beihai College, but there was Qinyue in the Kangling College's team. Even if he and the Baili Hongzhuang failed together, Qinyue would win the first place in this round, so he can't be distracted. However, the words of Baili Hongzhuang simply provoked his anger again and again. This damned woman. From a moment this woman walked up the platform, he realized that this woman was definitely a curse. As it turns out, even though Baili Hongzhuang might not have achievements in alchemy, but she was good at ruining their work. Baili Hongzhuang, don't be too much. Wei Hanyun's voice was full of anger, but in his heart, he was secretly surprised. As long as there is a moment of distraction at Baili Hongzhuang's level, the refining should fail. However, Baili Hongzhuang talked for so long, but there has never been the slightest change in the pill furnace. What was with this situation? Wei Hanyun was puzzled. Could it be that she wasn't refining black rockwood at all? This scene also fell in the eyes of Qinyue and the others. They also felt a little surprised about Baili Hongzhuang's move. However, this contest did not have any rule that they could not speak in the middle. For the alchemists, any kind of situation could happen, and this situation of forced distraction was more common. What's more, Wei Hanyun used this trick to stimulate the Baili Hongzhuang, but it did not seem to have any effect. On the contrary, Wei Hanyun's state was affected. I just said 2 sentences, but you're saying that I am too much. Your tolerance is really not very good. Baili Hongzhuang sighed with emotion, and then recovered her appearance, and did not intend to continue to pay attention to Wei Hanyun. Hearing Baili Hongzhuang, Wei Hanyun was even more furious and wanted to say something more, but it seemed useless. Just when Wei Hanyun thought about how to make the Baili Hongzhuang unhappy, a sound came from his pill furnace. Chi! Wei Hanyun's face instantly turned purple. He was actually brought to the ditch by Baili Hongzhuang. He was thinking about how to make Baili Hongzhuang unhappy, but he forgot to refine the black rockwood, which was the most important. Baili Hongzhuang. Wei Hanyun bit his teeth. His refining was about to succeed, but even in such a situation, he failed. However, Baili Hongzhuang acted as if nothing has been heard. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes quietly fell on Qinyue's body. She had already judged that Wei Hanyun was a little faster than Qinyue. If this continued, Wei Hanyun would complete refining black rockwood before Qinyue. With the Wei Hanyun's level of refining the black rockwood, Baili Hongzhuang was also a doubtful. Obviously, this Wei Hanyun's alchemy level was very high, even higher than Qinyue. All the others have failed to refine black rockwood, but Wei Hanyun has persisted for so long. This showed the level that Wei Hanyun has achieved in alchemy, and his attitude toward Qinyue obviously showed that his purpose was to defeat Qinyue. This time, the Beihai College came prepared. It was for this reason that she did this in the middle of the contest. No matter what preparations Beihai College has made for today's alchemy contest, as long as she was there, she would not let the other party succeed. Yaoyi put all her hopes on Wei Hanyun, but she didn't expect Wei Hanyun to fail at this moment. Her tutor told her that Wei Hanyun's alchemy technique was very powerful. She only needed to cooperate with Wei Hanyun to take the first place in the alchemy contest. However, Wei Hanyun failed at this time, and the remaining time was not much. At the thought of this, Yaoyi could not help but panic, and her refining failed again. Song Hongxi's face was very ugly, and he didn't understand what was wrong with Wei Hanyun and Yaoyi today. Such a contest on normal days would not be able to beat them at all, but now due to the recent occurrences among the 3 teams, they were the slowest. Hey old HUAN, this Baili Hongzhuang is a bit mean. Song Hongxi slowly complained, and his words were full of dissatisfaction. Notes: when old, it is a way to call acquaintances. Here Song Hongxi is calling Huan Chuyou as old HUAN. However, Wei Hanyun used this trick before the start of the contest, but he didn't expect Baili Hongzhuang to be even more brilliant. She actually did it in the course of the contest. Humph! Song Hong, she snorted. Previously, CHUYOU'S never had such an attitude, but now he was embarrassing him. Jian Qingqiu looked at CHUYOU'S. This time, the Qingling College was really acting different and have completely changed their attitude. For today's alchemy contest, they have spent a lot of effort not thinking that Baili Hongzhuang to be such a variable. Let them be caught off guard. Hongzhuang is too powerful. At the moment Wei Hanyun failed, Xiujie couldn't help but applaud. Baili Hongzhuang was really awesome. The conspiracy that the two colleges made may not be useful after Baili Hongzhuang's move. Cui Haoyan chuckled. He was afraid that with Baili Hongzhuang's move only incited Wei Hanyun's anger. Gong Xiaoqing and others were full of joyful smiles. Wei Hanyun thought that he was really smart and clever. He deserved it. Wei Hanyun was still refining the black rock wood, and his eyes flashed with a gloomy light. He didn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang was really refining the black rock wood. If it was true, he was afraid that the black rock in the pill furnace would have turned into nothingness. Now he finally understands. The Qingling College sent Baili Hongzhuang to participate to disturb them while refining. The refining technique of Baili Hongzhuang itself was not very good, but she could disturb others. As long as Qingqiu can win the first place, it was enough. Thinking of this, Wei Hanyun glanced at Baili Hongzhuang in a resentful manner. Since this is a trick of Baili Hongzhuang, then he would never let the conspiracy of Baili Hongzhuang succeed. Wei Hanyun slowly stepped back a few steps and slowly walked towards Yaoyi. However, when he passed by Qingqiu, he fell inadvertently and directly hit Qingqiu. The sudden arrival of the situation made Qingqiu look awkward and rushed to stabilize the situation in the Dan furnace. I'm really sorry. Wei Hanyun patted his clothes and looked at Qingqiu with apology, then walked back to his position. On the other side, Qi Junan and Yi Ruyu saw this scene, and they were stunned. In fact, this was the last resort that they could think of. According to the instructor, no matter what method was used today, the Qingling College must be defeated. It was only that they had no courage to make this brazen move. After all, everyone was in the dark about what they did. They did not expect that when they were still hesitating to do this, Wei Hanyun did not hesitate to do it. They didn't care about Baili Hongzhuang, and Qingqiu was the real opponent. Even if they let Baili Hongzhuang on the high platform until the last moment, she would not be able to do anything. Qingqiu was taking care of the black rock wood essence and pill, but this essence was too weak. When she reacted to the situation, it was too late. The same subtle sound sounded, and the herbs in Qingqiu's pill furnace has turned into nothingness. Listening to this sound, Wei Hanyun's lips showed a smile, but when he looked at Yaoyi, his expression turned into one that of disgust. Feeling Wei Hanyun's gaze, Yaoyi's face was a bit ugly. Wei Hanyun wanted her to disturb Qingqiu when she failed before, but she never dared. She didn't think Wei Hanyun did it himself directly. As a result, her pressure reduced a lot. Waste. Wei Hanyun left cold sentence and began to refine the black rock wood again. Again standing in Baili Hongzhuang's side, Wei Hanyun's eyes showed a smug expression, but did not affect Baili Hongzhuang. He wanted to look at Baili Hongzhuang to disgust her. After the time has come, if Baili Hongzhuang still is not refined, then she was really a huge joke. Baili Hongzhuang, no matter what you do, the Qingling College is now at the bottom. Baili Hongzhuang's calm look did not change because of Wei Hanyun's words. Even so, your speed is not necessarily faster than Qingqiu. Qingqiu's face was quite ugly, but she quickly began to refine, and no matter how much she got in the second round, she should not be eliminated. Yi Riyu's heart was filled with joy. He was the first person to fail. Unexpectedly, he has become the fastest one among all people. It's really a surprise for him. As for Baili Hongzhuang, he has already ignored her, because she wouldn't win. After paying attention to the expressions of Wei Hanyun and others, Baili Hongzhuang was also helpless. Was she being shackled? Her black rock has to be refined, and these guys who made the whole conspiracy seemed to completely ignore her existence. Wei Hanyun and others saw that Baili Hongzhuang was still refining the black rock wood, and felt that it was very funny. They didn't expect Baili Hongzhuang to be really ordinary. This group of idiots have neglected Baili Hongzhuang, and after a while I'm afraid that they would hurt even their intestines in remorse. Although everyone felt that it was a pity that Qinyue failed to refine, Xiujie believed that Baili Hongzhuang would win. All of them made a common mistake that many people would make, but Baili Hongzhuang is really amazing. She would not fail. Zhang Yunfeng's eyes were full of wonder. He saw that other refining pharmacists failed only at a moment's distraction. Among all the alchemists present here, the most distracted one should be Baili Hongzhuang, but Baili Hongzhuang has not failed. When the words came out, Zhang Yunfeng and the others looked at each other. Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang has really not started refining? The look of everyone has changed a bit. It seemed that it was not impossible. After Zhang Hongxi's glimpsed at Wei Hanyun's actions, there was a smile on his eyes. As long as he affected Qinyue's progress, their purpose was reached. Wei Hanyun saw Baili Hongzhuang and noticed that she still kept her previous movements unchanged. He sneered in his heart. He would see how long Baili Hongzhuang could pretend. However, at this moment, a faint scent came from Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. It was the smell of medicine. Wei Hanyun could not help but widen his eyes and looked at Baili Hongzhuang as if she was a ghost. Not only Wei Hanyun, Yi Ruyu and others were also completely stunned. This smell, wasn't it the smell of the black rockwood extract? What a joke. Was it really Baili Hongzhuang who refined the black rockwood? She was so distracted, but she could still refine successfully. Was this a good way to tease them? However, it made them understand that they really ignored the most important of enemies. Baili Hongzhuang directly put the essence of black rockwood into the container and smiled as she looked at Wei Hanyun and others. In fact, because she has refined black rockwood many times, she was familiar with black rockwood. The short-term distraction has no effect on her at all, because she was familiar enough to know exactly when to pay attention to what. Qinyue's face showed a faint smile. Everyone thought of her as an opponent, but they did not know that the alchemy of Baili Hongzhuang was equally exquisite. The first place in this round of assessment went to the Kangling College, and the alchemists of Lingyin College and Beihai College were afraid of getting eliminated. In comparison, her mood was very good. The previous move of Baili Hongzhuang was to help her, but before the start of the contest, Master had already reminded her that it is very likely that the opponent would do anything and wanted her to be more careful. However, Wei Hanyun's move was unstoppable. Fortunately, everyone underestimated Baili Hongzhuang, so Baili Hongzhuang easily refined. Speaking of Baili Hongzhuang, Qinyue also felt somewhat emotional. She has never compared alchemy with Baili Hongzhuang, but from the previous situation, she felt that the alchemy of Baili Hongzhuang was most likely to be stronger than her. Because in the process of this refining, she can never be distracted like Baili Hongzhuang, so she could see the gap between them. When Bai Jingtian came to Lingyin College, he saw the scene where Baili Hongzhuang finished, and the three could not help but look at each other. This situation was somewhat wrong. Baili Hongzhuang is not a cultivator. Today, Lingyin Academy is hosting an alchemy contest. What is Baili Hongzhuang doing up there? Bai Jingtian was puzzled. They still thought about where to go to find Baili Hongzhuang, but they didn't expect to see Baili Hongzhuang on the high platform. In the eyes of Jian, there is also a puzzled light. I don't know, is this girl an alchemist? When Jian thought of this idea, he himself denied it directly. What a joke. Wasn't Baili Hongzhuang clearly an inscriptionist? Since this girl is on the high platform, we will wait a little longer. I believe it won't take long for her to come down. After finding Baili Hongzhuang, Qingqiu was relieved. As long as Baili Hongzhuang did not leave the Qin Imperial City, He was very pleased. Qinyue checked the refining results of Baili Hongzhuang and announced that Baili Hongzhuang passed directly. On hearing this news, Yiruyu and other people's faces were ugly. They did not think that Baili Hongzhuang has always been playing pig to eat tigers. From now onwards, they would no longer doubt Baili Hongzhuang's strength. It was impossible to refine the black rock wood without a certain level. However, this Baili Hongzhuang is too abnormal. As a cultivator, she could still learn alchemy to this point. It wasn't their first time to be the referee of this alchemy contest. They used to know the tricks of Lingyin College and Beihai College. They never thought that this time, in the alchemy contest, Baili Hongzhuang would shock the other to defeat. This was a very rare scene. I think the character of this girl is good. The character of Lu Girl is too soft. Although the alchemist should be easygoing, if the temper is too soft, it is easy to be bullied. Lin Hao shook his head. They had known Lu Qinyue for a long time. They were worried about her temper. I don't know what about this girl's rank in alchemy, but at a young age, she is already a practitioner of the innate realm. It is really amazing to have such an accomplishment in alchemy. Xiujie smiled. Qinyue smiled faintly. That's not easy. I will naturally know when I wait for this third round of assessment. When Baili Hongzhuang completed refining, because they were too surprised, Yiruyu and Yaoyi failed again. When the two heard the sound from the pill furnace, the faces of the two were pale, and the time had passed, and they had failed again. They are likely to be eliminated because they can't finish in such little time. At the thought of this, the two were even more resentful about Baili Hongzhuang. If not for Baili Hongzhuang, they would not be distracted at this critical moment. When the two hated Baili Hongzhuang was uninformed about this. She passed the round and she was resting. However, even if Baili Hongzhuang knows the thoughts of Yiruyu, she would not care. It was their fault for getting distracted. Who were they blaming for their own fault? In the end, it's just that their self-control is not enough. At last, Wei Hanyun and Lu Qinyue completed the refining at the same time. Qi Junin also completed, and Yiruyu and Yaoyi were eliminated because the time was up. The second round, Baili Hongzhuang, Lu Qinyue, Wei Hanyun, Qi Junin passed. Yiruyu, Yaoyi eliminated. Qinyue immediately announced the final result. The people under the high platform also sighed after hearing the result. This time, the Qingqiu College is really going to shine. In the first two rounds of this alchemy contest, the best results were from the Qingqiu College students, which was amazing. Yiruyu and Yaoyi walked down the high platform, and both of them were unwilling. But so what if they were unwilling? It was useless. The level of the alchemists of the Qingqiu College is really good. The performance of Lu Qinyue and Baili Hongzhuang are very outstanding. This Baili Hongzhuang is really magical. As a practitioner, I can still have such a level. I don't know if she can persist the third round. According to the news I got, Baili Hongzhuang is a practitioner. How could she suddenly become an alchemist? Jian couldn't understand it. It is reasonable to say that the news he got should not go wrong. Stop focusing on the wrong thing. Bai Jingtian blew his beard. This girl is a rare genius inscriptionist. Now she wastes time on alchemy. It is a mess. Although the alchemists are also very promising, but the number of alchemists is much more than that of the inscriptionists. The inscriptionists are respected more than them. As if being a good inscriptionist is not enough, she even runs to be an alchemist. Wasn't that a waste of talent? Jian and Qingqiu also agreed with Bai Jingtian's words. Baili Hongzhuang's talent in inscription art to study inscriptions inadvertently was really good. It seems that we have to talk to Baili Girl. His talent in inscriptions would be wasted with her practicing alchemy. Qingqiu said seriously. Now start the third round. With Jian Qingqi's words, everyone's eyes fell on him, and Jian Qingqi's also announced the topic. The third round of competition, participants should refine the highest level of pill that they can refine. When the words came out, everyone in the audience was excited. From the previous 2 trials, they couldn't understand who was the best, but this third round allowed everyone to clearly see their level in alchemy. This was what everyone expected. Xiujie and others were also somewhat uncertain. So far, they never knew Baili Hongzhuang's level in alchemy. Lin Hao slowly stood up and said, "The current score is as follows. Baili Hongzhuang 6 points, Qinyue 5 points, Wei Hanyan 4 points, Qijunin 2 points. The points obtained in the third round would be doubled. The highest score is the first. The third round commences." Hearing the scores, the Lingyin College practitioner's face were somewhat ugly. At present, Qijunin's score was the lowest, and Lingyin College was at the bottom. Although there is still a third round of competition, they have realized that it is impossible for Qijunin to get this first place. Wei Hanyan's face was also ugly. He already guessed about the topic of the third round, so he was well prepared for this third round. However, due to Baili Hongzhuang, the situation changed. He got this much low score. It was not easy to make up for this gap through the third round. Now he regretted it. He knew it before. At that time, he should have plotted against Baili Hongzhuang along with Qinyue. The current situation will not become so difficult. Qinyue was faintly smiling. Now, the Kangling College was the most likely to win the first place. As long as the Kangling College can get the first place, she was happy. At least, this time, they will not be called as the laughingstock by the Lingyin College and Beihai College students. Baili Hongzhuang, can you refine second-grade pills? Qinyue was worried about Baili Hongzhuang. The pill formula would be different with each alchemist. She has a teacher, and she had gotten many pill formulas from him. /N since she wanted to refine the pills, Qinyue was already prepared. She had already prepared all the herbs needed to refine the pills. As for Baili Hongzhuang, although she was on a temporary mission, she had always prepared a lot of herbs, and she had all the herbs she needed. Wei Hanyan and Qijunin's situation naturally didn't need to be explained. Perhaps they already knew about this question, so naturally, there weren't too many herbs. Then, Baili Hongzhuang and the others stood on the high platform. Everyone did not use the pill furnace that they normally used. Instead, they used the pill furnace that was prepared by the Spirit Concealment Academy. This was the fairest method. Baili Hongzhuang and the others stood at the very front of the stage. Their every move was clearly seen by the crowd, and the crowd's voice was also a little quieter. Refining pills was more detailed than refining medicinal herbs. They tried not to affect the performance of the people on the stage. Qingqiu looked at the students of the Spirit Concealment Academy who had a lot of self-control under the high platform. A gratified light appeared in his eyes, but when he saw this, he could not help but feel surprised. Qingqiu took a closer look. After making sure that he didn't see anything, he stood up and quickly walked down the platform. When Huan Qiyu and the others saw Qingqiu's actions, they were confused. They did not know what Qingqiu was going to do. Elder Bai, Elder Ji, Elder Qin, I didn't expect you to come. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Qingqiu had a happy smile on his face. Bai Jingtian and the other 2 inscriptionists had a high reputation and status in the imperial city. He had invited them to watch the exchange match, but he was rejected. However, he did not expect to see them here today. He felt very honored. The exchange meeting held by the Academy, not only the 3 masters of the Alchemist Guild, but also the 3 masters of the Inscription Guild, was it not a proof of the influence of the Academy in Qingqiu country? Bai Jingtian smiled faintly. We just happened to have something to attend to. Bai Jingtian and the other 2 weren't interested in Qingqiu. The things they wanted to do were the simplest. Qingqiu was too utilitarian and wasn't like them. It was because of this that they had rejected Qingqiu's invitation. However, they didn't expect that Baili Hongzhuang had also participated in the exchange meeting. Hearing Bai Jingtian's answer, although Qingqiu was a little surprised, he did not put it in his heart. No matter what reason Bai Jingtian and the other 2 came here for, as long as they came here, in the eyes of the others, this was enough face for him. Sure enough, when everyone saw Jian Qingqiu and Bai Jingtian standing together, their eyes shone with astonishment and surprise. After all, Bai Jingtian and the other two's status in the imperial city wasn't ordinary. Ordinary people couldn't even see them. Today's Spirit Concealment Academy is even more amazing. Not only did they invite the 3 Master Alchemists from the Alchemist Guild, they even invited the Inscription Master that ordinary people can't even invite. It's truly amazing. Spirit Concealment Academy is already #1 among the 3 academies, and their relationship with the royal family is so close, so there is no need to talk about their influence. I usually only heard of the 3 Inscription Masters, but this is my first time seeing them. The students of Spirit Concealment Academy were excited. For Spirit Concealment Academy to have such a status, they felt proud of themselves as students of Spirit Concealment Academy. Elder Bai, please take a seat first. Let's see how the students in the alchemy competition perform. Jian Qingqiu smiled. Bai Jingtian and the other 2 looked at each other and did not reject Jian Qingqiu's invitation. There was no other way. The person they were looking for was participating in the alchemy competition. They couldn't find Baili Hongzhuang right now. They could only wait for the alchemy competition to end. Seeing that Bai Jingtian and the other 2 had agreed, the smile on Jian Qingqiu's face intensified. He immediately invited Bai Jingtian and the other 2 onto the stage. When Lin Hao saw Bai Jingtian and the other 2, he revealed a look of joy. This was such a surprise. Seeing the arrival of Bai Jingtian and the other 2, Qinyue and the other 2 also walked over. Although the Inscription Association and the Alchemist Association were not the same guild, they still had a certain degree of interaction. Perhaps because they were all focused on their own business, Qinyue and the others had a very good relationship with Bai Jingtian and the others. Elder Bai, why are you all here today? Qinyue was a little surprised. They had told Bai Jingtian and the other 2 about this matter earlier, but it was clear that they weren't very interested in this matter. Logically speaking, the 3 of them should not have appeared here today. What was the reason for this? If this was to give Jian Qingqiu face, the 3 of them would never believe it. They couldn't be more clear about the personalities of Bai Jingtian and the other 2. They had no meaning in front of all of them. Clearly, Jian Qingqiu was unable to invite them. Bai Jingtian smiled faintly. A few days ago, we discovered a genius inscriptionist. We only found out that she was in Spirit Concealment Academy after some inquiries, so we came. Hearing Bai Jingtian's words, Jian Qingqiu's eyes lit up. A genius inscriptionist had actually appeared in Spirit Concealment Academy. This was really a surprise. It was just that he didn't know which class this student belonged to. He didn't even know that he had such outstanding talent. It was really a mistake to not notice that. Even so, Jian Qingqiu's heart was filled with joy. As long as they were students of Spirit Concealment Academy, they would still be part of Spirit Concealment Academy in the future. The 3 masters, why don't I find that student after the alchemy competition ends? Jian Qingqiu asked with a smile. Bai Jingtian nodded. That's what we planned. When Huan Chuyu saw Bai Jingtian and the other 2, his eyes were filled with emotion. He did not expect Spirit Concealment Academy's current status to be even better. Even the talented Inscription Master had appeared in Spirit Concealment Academy. Thinking of this, he couldn't help sighing. Not to mention inscriptions in the Academy, there wasn't a single inscriptionist in city. This was the difference in reality. Song Hongxi's expression changed a little. Although he was in the alliance with Spirit Concealment Academy, he was also surprised to see that Spirit Concealment Academy had such an influence. He was afraid that the future Beihai College would have to obey Spirit Concealment Academy. He did not know if the situation would change in the future. Jian Qingqiu looked at Huan Chuyu proudly. When he saw Huan Chuyu's expression, the pride in his eyes grew stronger. Whether it was Kangling College or Beihai College, they would not be a match for Spirit Concealment Academy. In the future, the Spirit Concealment College would definitely take the lead. However, Beihai College understood the direction of the wind and knew to join them. As for the ignorant Kinglan College, they would eventually disappear from the Saint Xian land. Xiujie and the others looked at each other when they saw Bai Jingtian and the other two. They didn't expect the 3 inscription masters to be here. I didn't expect the inscription master to be interested in this alchemy competition. Bai Junyu slowly spoke. Xiuji's eyes were filled with displeasure. You didn't see how proud the students of Spirit Concealment College were when they saw them. It seems that Spirit Concealment College is worthy of first place. Right now, she did not have a good impression of Spirit Concealment Academy. She only hoped that Spirit Concealment's results would be terrible. He did not expect the appearance of the 3 inscription masters to bring glory to the academy. He could not help but feel depressed. Lu Huayan's expression was also not very good. The more influential the Spirit Concealment Academy was, the more disadvantageous it was to the Kinglan College. However, the relocation of Spirit Concealment Academy to Qingqiu Imperial City was a lot easier. At least the students would have access to the inscription. However, there was no inscription master in Azure Water City. The students had no chance to see it. Lin Hao sat down beside Bai Jingtian. Elder Bai, did you really find an inscription master's talent in the Spiritual Concealment Academy? Lin Hao was very surprised. An inscription master was even more rare than an alchemist. Although the threshold for alchemist was very high, the number of alchemists was much higher than an inscription master. Therefore, it was much easier for an alchemist than to find an inscription master. Even in the entire imperial city of Qingqiu, there were only 3 inscription masters who could be masters. It was amazing that they could find inscription masters in the Spiritual Concealment Academy. Hearing Lin Hao's words, Bai Jingtian pondered for a moment. He also understood Lin Hao's personality. This guy wouldn't fight with him, right? Thinking of this, Bai Jingtian said ambiguously, "That girl is in the Spiritual Hidden Academy." Lin Hao frowned. He felt that Bai Jingtian's situation today was a little strange. Bai Jingtian and the other two had never been interested in this alchemy competition. In their eyes, inscriptions were the most powerful. Now they were sitting here watching young alchemists refining pills. Old Chun, who are you most optimistic about in this year's alchemy competition? Qinyue looked at Qinyue and asked. His thoughts were the same as Bai Jingtian. He could not let Baili Hongzhuang be snatched away by the Alchemist Association. Qinyue was also curious about Qinyue's question. Did this old man change his mind today? However, Qinyue didn't think too much about it. He immediately said, Lu Qingqiu has always been called a genius alchemist. The level of alchemy is very good. TL note, Lingyin College equals Spiritual Concealment Academy. Chapter 806 Alchemy, Genius, Inscriptionist. Hearing Qinyue's words, Qinyue could not help but sigh in relief. It seemed that Baili Hongzhuang's performance in pill refining wasn't the most outstanding. Other than Lu Qingqiu, Qinyue continued to ask. Qinyue's gaze fell on Baili Hongzhuang and Wei Hanyun. According to the information he received, Wei Hanyun was already a Tier 2 alchemist. With Wei Hanyun's age, being able to become a Tier 2 alchemist was already outstanding. Compared to Lu Qingqiu, his talent was only slightly weaker. As for Baili Hongzhuang, so far he hadn't received much information about her, but from her previous performance, he could tell that Baili Hongzhuang was an accomplished alchemist. However, he didn't know that Baili Hongzhuang was a top-tier alchemist, so he couldn't make a decision. Thinking about it, Qinyue said, Wei Hanyun's alchemy skills are also outstanding. He is Lu Qingqiu's enemy. I see. The smile on Qinyue's face widened. It seemed that Qinyue and the others would not fight for Baili Hongzhuang. Qingqiu had a faint smile on his face. He did not need to ask, and Bai Jingtian and the other two could get the information they wanted to know. I think Baili Hongzhuang's level of pill refinement should also be very good. Maybe she will have a stunning performance in the 3rd round. Qiujie's eyes fell on Baili Hongzhuang. When she first saw her, she didn't feel anything, but after seeing Baili Hongzhuang's performance in these 2 matches, She felt that Baili Hongzhuang was probably hiding something. With Baili Hongzhuang's age, she should be very nervous in such a situation, but Baili Hongzhuang's mental state was obviously not something that ordinary people could compare to. She wasn't nervous at all. She didn't even care. There were only two explanations for this performance. One was that Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy was very poor. So, she was completely at the bottom of the list, so she didn't care at all. The other was that her alchemy was very strong, so she had enough confidence in herself. Qinyue thought for a moment between the two. She felt that Baili Hongzhuang should be in the second situation. Perhaps another outstanding alchemist had appeared. As Qinyue's voice fell, Bai Jingtian and the other two's expressions changed a little. They didn't want the Alchemist Association to look at Baili Hongzhuang. In my opinion, the two people that Elder Chen mentioned are better. Qingqiu said slowly. What a joke. It was a waste of time for the geniuses of inscription masters to come here and become alchemists instead of studying inscription techniques. Jian nodded in agreement. That's right, I think so too. Qinyue's eyes fell on Jian. As a woman, she was more sensitive. These three old men knew nothing about alchemy. How could they know who was better? The three old men's performance today was really strange, but she couldn't figure out what was going on. Qinyue didn't care if she didn't understand, but she would find out sooner or later. Lingyin walked over to Bai Jingtian and the other two. He smiled and said, Elder Bai, Elder Ji, Elder Qin, since you're here, I'll introduce you to the other two principals. Chapter 807, Rank 2 Pill. Heaven Mending Pill Lin Yinghao was a little complacent. It was rare for him to bring Bai Jingtian and the other two to Lingyin College, so he naturally had to introduce them. Using this opportunity, Lingyin College was able to prove to everyone just how strong they were. Hearing Lin Yinghao's words, Qinyue and the others understood Lin Yinghao's thoughts. Speaking of which, the Lingyin College did indeed have very outstanding strength, but their show-off method made them speechless. The reason why they had come to participate in the alchemy competition was all because they wanted to understand the situation of the alchemists from the three academies. If they were only helping Lingyin College, they would not have any interest. However, after hearing Lin Yinghao's words, the eyes of Bai Jingtian and the others who were not interested in it all along lit up. According to the information they had obtained, Baili Hongzhuang was a cultivator of the Azure Water School. Up until now, they did not know the principal of Azure Water School. That's great. Bai Jingtian smiled. Seeing Bai Jingtian give him so much face, Lin Yinghao was somewhat flattered. It wasn't that he hadn't interacted with Bai Jingtian and the other two before, but with their arrogant personalities, even if he was the vice principal of Lingyin College, they couldn't care more. He didn't expect Bai Jingtian and the other two to be so easy to get along with at this year's Academy Exchange meeting. Principal Tsang, these three are our Qingqiu nation's most famous inscriptionists, Bai Jingtian, Jian, and Qingqiu. After introducing the identities of Bai Jingtian and the others, Lin Yinghao turned to Bai Jingtian and the others and said, This is the principal of North Sea Academy, Tsang Hongxi. I've heard of the three of you for a long time. I didn't expect to see you today. Tsang Hongxi's face didn't seem to be the slightest bit fake as he complimented. Bai Jingtian's group of three also revealed a smile. The North Sea Academy is also well known. We really admire it. Tsang Hongxi originally wanted to say a few more words, but the expressions on Bai Jingtian and the other two were clearly not very interested. Seeing this, Tsang Hongxi wouldn't bring himself to be bored. Otherwise, if he provoked the other party's disgust, it would be bad. When Huan Chuyu saw Lin Yinghao walking towards him, a helpless expression appeared on his face. Although he knew that Lin Yinghao was here to show off, he had no choice. This is Azure Water School's vice principal, Huan Chuyu. Lin Yinghao looked complacently at Huan Chuyu. He wanted to use this opportunity to let Azure Water School understand how big the gap between them and Lingyin College was. Jian Qingqiu also revealed a smile on her face. Even though yesterday's advancement to Spirit Concealment Academy had failed, in his eyes, Spirit Concealment Academy only needed Nangong Aochan alone. With Nangong Aochan's strength, no matter if it was Azure Water School or North Sea School, there was no student council that was his opponent. Qinyue smiled. Although he didn't have any feelings for Lingyin College, he still admired the Inscription Master. Just as Qinyue was about to speak, Bai Jingtian walked over to him with great enthusiasm, ignoring Lin Hao. "You're the vice principal of Azure Water School. I've heard a lot about you." Bai Jingtian smiled. "I've heard about Azure Water School's reputation before, but I've never seen it before. Your students are extremely outstanding. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.